We should be able to do what is necessary in just one moment. But I thought it was so important to have this conversation because I want you all to be able to rewatch or whatever, whenever you need. This is such key information. So, just for background, we were talking about how, shoot, we were talking about how certain countries are criminalizing, speaking about, promoting being child free. So it's already happened in Russia. There's talks of it happening in South Korea. Somebody just asked, did I know that there are camps now for child free people? And I said I hadn't heard that there were camps, but I'm really not surprised because I told you all several years back, this is where it was all headed. So I told you Russia first moved to criminalize making child-free content 2 years ago in 2024. And you have to remember, before that, 2020, or even before, it might have been 2019, Russia decriminalized domestic violence. In other words, it is no longer a crime for men to hit their wives. Okay, and you can go look that up, and everybody talked about it when it happened. And they said, oh, it's just because it's a private matter and we don't want to clog up the courts. No, it's for what I'm getting ready to talk about. So the reason all this stuff is happening right now is because these governments, yeah, they might be mad you're not having children, but that's not what it's about. Because if they wanted you to have more children, they would give you incentives. They're giving you punishments. Incentives make you do something, okay? Incentives change the rules so that it is more comfortable, more fashionable, more whatever for you to do the thing they want you to do. They do not want to make the process of you having children more appealing and more free for you. They want the structure that's upheld by you having children. Okay, so they're never going to make it a better process because they want the result, which is when women have children, oftentimes they are trapped, whether it's financially, socially, legally, by marriage, they are trapped in their situation, okay? So they're not going to change the underlying thing. And that's why even when they will give a financial incentive, for example, both Russia and South Korea give financial incentives. So for Russia, when you've had ever so many children, you will get a lump sum, and some places a stipend. And in South Korea, there are all kinds of financial incentives. But women have already said, we don't care about that. What we care about are a few things. Number one, there's a very strong non-work-life balance culture over there. So they said, first of all, you're going to school 6 days a week, and that's from grade school. And then you're working so hard to achieve in college and get this career. And when you get your career, oftentimes, if you as a woman have children, you are fired. They don't have the same protections that we have here. So whether it's you actually losing your job or you being pushed out of it, you like socially being told you're not supposed to work anymore. These women are like, I've worked so hard my whole life and I don't get to keep what I worked so hard for. And if you don't work, what are you? You're trapped. You are trapped. You're stuck. You're under a man's thumb. And socially, these women are like, even if we maintain our jobs, and we're not pushed out, we are still expected to do all the labor, not just for our own families and the children that we have with the man, but for his people as well. We're expected to do all this care when your in-laws get to their end of life and whatever. He's not expected to do anything, and we're tired of having to do it all alone. It's a no for us. So, and that's the one thing that the other people are not budging on. They're like, women are saying we want more equality in the home, and they're not offering that. So women said, keep it. Keep it, because you can't solve the other problem without solving that. I mean, you see how desperate they are in South Korea. Literally hundreds of kindergartens, first grade classes, second grade classes with no children. They are shuttering elementary schools and nursery schools because the next population isn't being born. And as desperate as they are, they're still not telling men, hey, step up, take care of your own damn housework. They're still telling women it should be all on your shoulders. So women said, that's cool. Have it your way, baby. And they're just not having any children. So I was saying, in places like Russia and they're meditating in South Korea, they're punishing women or people who produce child-free content, but it doesn't matter. You know, they can squelch the talk all they want to, but they cannot squelch your actions. These women, they did eat with that 4B movement, because the 4B movement doesn't count on women all agreeing. It doesn't count on, you know, us talking and like promoting, oh, a black cat in my yard, hello. I'm sorry, I got distracted. It's so pretty. Hi. It doesn't matter where we all are ideologically. All that matters is the outcome. So these women are keeping true to their word. They're not dating, they're not getting married, they're not having children, they're not having intimate relations, if you will. And look at the results. And the thing is, these men are screaming into the void, because they're like, oh my God, calling women horrible names now. They have this thing where they'll harass women at work in South Korea. You know, even on the street, men are following women home. Like, they're getting so much more aggressive. And baby, the women, they could not care less. They could not care less, because at the end of the day, these men cannot strong arm these women into being with them. They can't do it. And even if you could physically harm them or whatever, you cannot force somebody into your home. You can't force someone to marry you. You cannot force someone to do all the housework. You cannot force them to bear you children. You just can't. So it's like, now what? What's your big move? And honestly, South Korea has maybe 2 years left to figure that out. But they're probably not going to. Yeah, Jade says the stalking there is insane, both from old and young men. What I've seen online has been truly horrific. It's been truly, truly horrific. What's up, Groove Parlor? I am very proud to be a woman, goddess. I'm proud to be a woman all the time. I'm proud to be a woman all the time. And I'm especially proud of the girls overseas, because they're not playing around. I'm not even reading that. All I have to say is, the change is in you, man. You know, you change the world by changing yourself. Because if women in America stick by it as hard as women overseas are sticking by it, the system is going to overhaul itself. You know, I'm not here to say that there's not going to be discomfort while that's happening, but at the end of the day, the government can't have both ways. You know, they are trying to force you to have a child underneath the old paradigm, because that means men maintain their power. In other words, right now, when a woman has a child, that woman is losing all around. You know, you're in a more vulnerable position socially, legally, in all the senses of the word. You know, you are dependent. But if you don't have one, you just don't have one. Elle Bunny's talking about, she saw a video called The Nth Room, and it's like men abusing children and such in South Korea. And we've seen the videos of the clubs there, the public clubs anybody can go to, and women being smugged and kidnapped and harmed. Like, it's horrible. It is just straight up assault. It's just straight up felonies everywhere. But men are going to learn. Violence is not going to get them their way. Now that's a word from on high. Hay says, and they know a huge wealth transfer is coming in the next decade when a lot of women will inherit more money. That's a big part of it, because if you as a woman are unmarried, you inherit, you alone. And I've been telling you all for years now, women spend the majority of their money on the household. Now, the studies have been about paychecks. Women are spending 90% or more, and they're paying the big bills of the house, while men are spending a pittance of their paycheck, only about 35%, and stacking the rest for themselves. But it's any money that you get. When a woman has a side hustle, when a woman gets an inheritance, whatever it might be, what she gets, the family gets. And yeah, now that money that's been going to unworthy sons, loser sons who never cared for their parents or whatever. Now that money is going to be going to daughters or to responsible members of the family. If these sons aren't having any children either, it might go to nieces, it might go to godchildren, it might go to spiritual children. And then what? It's going to change the world, because the only reason women have been in the position they've been in historically is because of a lack of money and power. And now we're coming into a brand new season for money and power via women. Thank you. Oh yeah, no, men are totally in their extinction burst, and that's why you have to hold on. And I mean, I don't really think there's anything to fear, in the sense that men have never been able to mask convincingly. You've never seen a man who genuinely held up a good mask. A lot of women, and I'm here to tell you the uncomfortable truth, a lot of women who got involved with fucking losers, they did that because they chose to. But these men, they're like, oh my God, he was so different in the beginning. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. You just liked what he was saying. Now, will men lie? 100%. 10,000%. Yeah, they will lie. But you've never met a man who the lie and his actions agreed perfectly. Like, he was the sweetest, kindest, nicest, and the mask never dropped. That didn't happen. Because when you look at, like, any of those shows, if you look at like Fatal Attraction or Snapped or Dirty John, everybody around the victim tells them, hey, this guy is a liar. This guy, what he's saying doesn't add up. This is suspicious. It's only the victim who act like what the man was saying made some sense. Ooh, now that's a word from on high. Luella says, ever since I stopped drinking alcohol outside the house, it's so easy to spot predators. You know, a lot of the creators are talking about that. Oh, so did you know, first of all, there is a massive alcohol surplus right now. I just saw a news story that said the 5 biggest alcohol producers are sitting on $21 billion worth of alcohol. People have stopped drinking for various reasons, you know, more availability of the green stuff, people being concerned about the long-term health risk. You know, people can't drink because of anxiety, depression, medications, etc., things like that. Yeah, Gen Z is not drinking, and millennials are not far behind when it comes to cutting out alcohol. But here's the gotcha. I think people might stop for health reasons, and then it turns into a social thing, because you don't even realize, if you're a millennial, how much you've been groomed to drink to socialize with men. I mean, look at all the shows you grew up watching or that came slightly before you that have normalized socializing, sitting around a bar all night long. You know, How I Met Your Mother, all the way going back to Cheers. This is normal. I mean, how many shows is it a main plot point where they either hang out at a bar or sometimes own a bar? I can't name the number of shows that is literally the main set, just a bar, and it's men and women, and you're encouraged to be slamming down alcohol every night to, quote, help you socialize. Did you see what's his name, Scott Galloway, that fool? He was literally saying young people need to go out and start drinking again, you know, because, oh, what's the harm to your health compared to more socialization? In other words, women, why are you not making yourself vulnerable prey for men? Why aren't you out there? This man was literally on the news talking about you all just need to go out and get drunk. Here are your so-called experts. This man's in the comments, by the way. He is not any kind of socialization expert. But yeah, in other words, if you have control of your body, if you're not buying into the social stigma of being alone, it's bad for the economy. So why don't you make yourself vulnerable? Why don't you make yourself easy prey to get assaulted, so the numbers can do a little better, guys? Blooming Peach says one of her friends is always trying to get her to drink, and it's so annoying. Yeah, it's because misery loves company. Alcoholics want everybody to drink with them. And a lot of people in this country don't realize that they are like literal functional alcoholics. Now, I will say this. One thing I don't like about the prevalence of the green stuff is that People will smoke that all day long and not realize they are an addict. Like, if you woke up in the morning and it's 7 a.m. and you immediately opened a beer, I would hope that you would know you have a problem. And it's not normal. You couldn't do that. You couldn't say, oh, I'm on my way to work. My shift is going to be tough. I'm going to pop open some scotch at 6 a.m. But people will smoke all day. Like, I literally left the gym this morning. I did my training session at 9. So it had to be 9:45. The guy who came in behind me smelled like weed so loud. Not like I live in a place that's surrounded by it, but like he smelled like he had just been outside puffing. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's not even 10 a.m. You have a problem. Yikes. That's disturbing. Hay says it also takes, oh, wait, hold on. Lots of comments. Hay says it takes maybe 10 years before they realize they have a problem. Usually some panic or anxiety attacks start. Rose says they're listening while gardening right now. Babe, it's not even 2 p.m. Maybe go see somebody about that. Mississippi Blue said those vape pens are addictive as well. People go crazy without them. It's true. Have you ever been in a space like a plane where it's literally legally forbidden? And you're like, well, why on earth are they making an announcement that you can't smoke on a plane? Who doesn't know you can't smoke on a plane? I mean, my God, is this your first flight ever in life? It's because every single time people are definitely trying to get in the bathroom. Like, have you been out there, like in one of those, you've got the tunnel that leads to the plane. And sometimes you're in an outdoor space. People will literally be trying to smoke, even though it's illegal. It's part of the loading procedure. You cannot smoke in that area, but people will still be trying to do it. Baby, whoever told them the vape pen doesn't smell is a liar. Is a liar from the pit of hell. It absolutely stinks. All of it stinks. Like, honestly, to me, if you cannot get along without gardening for a few hours, you need to be taking edibles because, like, it's really not fair to other people. That's true, Groove Parlor. She said mocktail culture is rising, also non-alcoholic beers and wines. Non-alcoholic wines, there's even non-alcoholic champagne. And I love to see it because people, they want the social aspect. That's why they have the mocktails and the other things. They don't want to feel excluded and they don't want to stand out. They want to socialize with their friends. And I'm like, all for it. But yeah, I have to say, I actually preferred the culture around alcohol a bit more because there's some decorum. Like I said, first of all, you can't drive. And it's a known thing that you're not supposed to drink and drive. So people aren't going to be getting up before work or, about to leave work drinking the same way that they smoke. And it doesn't smell. It doesn't smell. One of the reasons I live alone now is because my last few roommates, I lived in a place where it was legal and those people were just smoking their lives away. And I was like, you do what you want, but I'm a teacher. I work in a school. I cannot go to work smelling like this. It's crazy. And it's wild to me that people don't think it's the same as cigarettes. Just like you cannot smoke in an apartment building or, a house or whatever. Like, you can't smoke that other stuff inside either. But people are so delusional. Well, they're doing it. And you all watch out for those Ubers and whatnot. Well, I'll be over here some, Livy and Rose. So she said she deleted her TikTok account. The censorship is too much for her, but she's going to miss my videos. You're very kind. I'm definitely going to be over here more because censorship is going crazy. It's going crazy, and I'm about sick and tired of it. Some people are saying, Blooming Peach says she had a non-alcoholic beverage her friend gave her and she was floating. Yeah, I mean, you have to be careful because some of it is just by volume. They're saying it's low alcohol and not no alcohol. And also, I don't take anything that I haven't seen myself So if you didn't open it yourself, you don't take it no way. Yeah, if somebody gave me a mixed thing and said it was no alcohol, I wouldn't believe that. Book is coming, guys. Book is on its way. People are delusional because that will get you on the no-fly list. Mississippi Blue said she's seen people smoke on planes and think people can't see it or smell it. You will be walking, okay? You'll be trying to catch a train or a bus any place you need to go. And again, people don't think. They don't realize, like, if you can't go for the length of a flight without puffing this thing, maybe you're an addict. Because unless you're going overseas, most flights are a couple of hours, maybe 3, 4 max domestic. And if you can fly between countries in Europe in 2 or 3 hours. So what are you doing? JFC says Scout Galloway looks like the kind of guy who can only get some after plying women with drinks in his single era. So yeah, I can totally see why he would encourage going out and drinking. That's literally it. Like, he all but confessed it. Talking about make mistakes, mess up. In other words, he wants you, woman, to have what he would define as regretful smacks, what other people would just define as like literal assault, because you cannot consent when you're that wasted. And I want to tell you, the shows that, again, had that drinking culture built into them, what they're describing a lot of times as hookups are just literal assault. So I don't know how many of you all were deep in the How I Met Your Mother lore. There was an episode where Barney, Neil Patrick Harris, wanted to rent Ted's apartment. Remember, Ted lived right above the bar that they all hung out at, McLaren's. He wanted to rent Ted's apartment because he said, my spot is too far away. I can't close the deal. And then they showed a montage of women passing out, throwing up. Like, if you are going home with someone and you're throwing up and passing out, it is assault. Lavia Rose says she remembers I did a video on that because I was so flummoxed. I'm telling you, I was a child, but I was like, what the devil is this? Why are they saying this is normal? This is not normal. Yes, we love Mel. She's great. Yes, I will keep this live on YouTube. But yeah, that's the kind of culture they encourage. And like I said, you watch any of those shows, like how many times on a show like that, going, like I said, all the way back to Cheers, was the plot line, oh my God, I woke up in someone's bed and I don't know how I got here. Baby, if you were blackout drunk, that's assault. You can't be here. But yes, they are grooming the audience to normalize this kind of behavior and make you think, oh, it was just a fun night out. Oh my God, this happens to everybody. This is normal. And even on shows where they didn't hang in the bars, like that wasn't their main point of contact, they had those kinds of storylines. Big Bang Theory, which I fucking hate. Try to in a bunch of stereotypes. But how many times, Big Bang Theory, did someone drink to the point of access, particularly one of the women, and they did something they didn't even recall? Penny and literally everyone. Elle Bunny said her brother's friend tried to get me drunk like 5 times, and then it clocked to me that he's a predator. It's so real. It is so real. I mean, you all saw Promising Young Woman, right? I knew I was going to watch that movie when I saw the trailer, and you saw the bit about her pretending to be drunk, and then she would go home with the guys, and the guys would see she pretended to pass out. She's pretending to pass out. That was literally what I thought of first, Alessandra, when Penny and Raj slept together. Penny could not consent, and she did not want that. But I mean, there you go. Revenge of the Nerds and whatnot. These men are counting on the idea you're going to be plastered out of your mind. You're not going to know who you're in bed with. One foot in front says she dated a guy who used to get me very, very drunk when we go out. He ended up assaulting me after a month and a half of dating. I'm so sorry. I'm so, so sorry. And this is incredibly common. And one of the reasons that women are just so over the culture surrounding alcohol and stepping back from that, because it really is such a safety thing. I remember back when that was still a big thing when I was a girl, women were starting to say, ask a man to buy you something other than alcohol. You know, when guys come to you in the bar, oh, can I buy you a drink? I'm actually good. I had all that I need. I pre-gamed, but why don't you buy me something else? Why don't you buy me some fries? You know how they charge for water when you go out? Buy me a water bottle, you know, get me something like that. Men will get offended. I've actually seen this myself. Like, men will get so upset because they don't want to buy you a drink. They don't want to interact with you. Men will swear to God that what they're buying is time for the conversation or whatever, because while you're drinking the drink, you have to talk to them. Hell no. They're buying an opportunity to lower your defenses. And that's why they want to buy you a drink. And they don't want to buy you a meal. They don't want to buy you like whatever. One time I was one of my friends said she was out like at a carnival kind of thing, and she asked the guy to buy her some popcorn when he offered her a drink. And he got mad, and she's like, well, the popcorn costs less than the drink, so what's this really about? And he was flummoxed. Yeah, it's like they are buying an opportunity to make you vulnerable in their minds. You can't spike french fries, exactly. You can't spike pasta. Exactly. Elle says, men can't buy you a Louis Vuitton bag, but will spend dollars on drinks. And as a woman, I need us to think why. Exactly. You know? And another thing we used to talk about a lot was that when you go somewhere that's supposedly free, you're the product. And I think women recognize that when they do things online, like with online dating, they know that they're the product. But women have yet to realize when you're offered free things, it's because you're the product, like free things in real life. And one of those free things is free entry to bars and clubs or free drinks when you get there. And not from men. You know, when I was in school, I lived in I went to like, I went to a school that was very interesting. So it was a D1 for, you know, the football and everything like that. And it was also very known party-wise, but it was an excellent school. And they had Wednesday nights. Every club and every bar in the whole city was like women drink free. And so everybody would go out on Wednesday nights. And I'm telling you, I was a grown woman before I said to myself, it's not just that they want traffic on Wednesday nights, because it was a party city. People went out every night. They really didn't need more people going out. It was to draw the men and lure the men with this idea that you were especially vulnerable during the week. I literally only went once because I have a low tolerance. I actually don't care for drinking. But I remember the one time I went out to this event. My friend and I hit 2, maybe 3 bars and clubs in like, I don't know, 3-ish hours. And I fell down in the street and I didn't even care. And I want to point out, I only had like 3 drinks. I don't know what they were putting in those things. But I had a white dress on and I fell, like collapsed in the middle of the street. Did not care at all. And I'm somebody who is extremely dignified. I'm very conservative. I'm not someone who, you know, I'm one of those people who's in my head. So if I even trip a little bit, I think the whole world's watching. I didn't care at all. I was like, that was so crazy, girl. Did you see me? And I had to stay in bed all day the next day. Like, I literally could not get up. So yeah, I said that was the first and the last time. It will never happen again. It might have been, but I stay, like when I go out with my friends, I stay with my friends. So me and my bestie had gone out and like literally we held hands, but we were both like really, really messed up. And my bestie, she was a black sorority girl, so she could really put it away. But we had come on her scooter and we ended up having to walk home because she couldn't even drive the scooter. It was a mess. Forever Your Leo said she had a coworker once said he would never trust me because I said I didn't drink and declined to go at the bar with them every Friday. This happens a lot. Opinion says, my friend and I got spiked by a bartender at the club. Men have been paying bartenders and whatnot. And I always tell you all, if by the time you see it on Law and Order SVU, it's too late. It's become super common. So they have done several episodes on Law and Order SVU now about bartenders spiking your drink. It's too late, baby. It's too late. Oh, Kel said the furniture scooter. She knows. People who follow me have heard about me and my bestie and our crazy adventures on her scooter, like the time she took home a secretary desk that she saw on the side of the road. Yes. Yes, it was that same furniture scooter. But we left that thing right downtown because we couldn't function. Thank God we lived in like a small college town. Everything was walkable. And when I was in school, there was no Uber, there was no Lyft. There was a system where you could like call the police when you felt like you couldn't function or whatever. But I've been black my whole life and I ain't no fool. When I was a child, I feel like certain things were more known among black people that are just now starting to become common knowledge. When I was a child, my parents used to say, if you get in trouble or whatever, like if it's a robbery or something, you can go someplace safe and call the police. But if you're a woman alone, don't be calling them because they already knew what was up. They already talked about how the people would assault you and stuff when you were by yourself. So they were like, cut it. Shoot. A lot of people don't know Johnny Cochran, before he went into private practice and became a very popular lawyer there, he made his name in several big cases against the LAPD. And one of them was a 15-year-old, or younger than 15 year old young Latina girl who had been assaulted multiple times by the same white LAPD officer. The man, I forget the first encounter they had. Maybe he came out for some kind of crime, but the second time he broke into her house and assaulted this girl. And I know she was younger than 15 because when she was supposed to have her quince, she ended up attempting instead because she was so, terrified that this man was going to try to come get her again, that she hadn't been helped by anybody because, of course, she and her family tried to report. But I believe she was undocumented. I forget how that part went. But Cochran was very instrumental in suing the LAPD for that and getting her the mental health care that she needed. Yeah, it was very sad. It was a big public case. Child, they've been monstrous for years because, that was back in the doggone 70s. That was ridiculous. People, my parents said, if there's a crime or something, if you are like out and about and like maybe you get robbed or there's some shoplifting or something like that, and you're with people, go ahead and call the police. But if you are by yourself, don't be calling them. I don't know, but he talks about it in his biography. So you can look it up like that. Or you can just look up Cochran, sues LAPD. Now, he sued the LAPD several times, but it should come up. And he actually sued another time for wrongful death. I was thinking that case is so fascinating. There was a man, I forget his name, but a black man, and he was driving his pregnant wife, like she was in active labor, to the hospital. And apparently it used to be a thing that you could tie a handkerchief, like a white handkerchief, onto your antenna, like a white flag, I need help. And so he did that, and he starts driving her to the hospital. And the police pull him over, like, you have whatever. And he's like, yeah, my wife is having a child or whatever. And they start with all their BS about he was resisting whatever. And they shot that man right in front of his wife, right in the head. She was in labor, by the way. Pregnant woman in active labor. And they popped him right in the head in front of her. And yeah, it was a horrible thing. But here's the gotcha. They tried to lie about what happened, and say it didn't happen. I was like, how are you saying it didn't happen? The man's obviously dead. And even the ME was in on it. And so Cochran had to sue to have the bodies man exhumed, because the city had said whatever on his death certificate, just a straight up lie about everything. And the woman, she didn't, she couldn't do anything. She was impregnant. She was pregnant. She was in labor. She had to go have her baby. So by the time she came back and was like, "What the hell?" Like, I think they had already buried him. I forget the exact circumstances because I read that book years ago, but it was madness. But literally, he had to get a court order to have the man's body exhumed and have an independent person do an autopsy. And he was finally able to settle with the city, and they had to pay whatever to the widow. But of course, the child was still traumatized, and it was horrendous. But yeah, those are like the first cases he did suing the LAPD that really he made a name for himself. It was interesting. Before he went the way he went, he really had a very interesting career. And honestly, while I think he took that other case knowing what he was getting into, I also feel like he had a different view of it than an ordinary person because he had been working his whole lawyer life against the LAPD. So I think he just didn't see it the way a regular person would see it. Like, he saw that case as, oh, this is police misconduct, probably. Believe he says, and they wonder why everyone hates them. Child, I tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure. Everything that's happening right now, it's so surreal. Not what's happening, but the response. I get up in the morning and I look at what's happening. Like, I look at the latest reports, and I'm like, it's like you step back. It's like, you're watching the news or whatever with a sepia filter on it. It's the same exact news that you've always seen, only color corrected. I hope I have more freedom on here. We'll see. I was like, I just made a video about that. If you want to go check it out, it's up here on this page on my YouTube. I was saying, literally, the reason why they're putting out all these headlines talking about Preddy was an ICU nurse or whatever. You remember the first time you heard that? EMT Breonna Taylor. EMT Breonna Taylor. I thought that was part of her name. They said it so damn much. Ta! As Neff said, she saw a white woman say, "Can we go back to regular police brutality?" Nope, because we're staying inside. Oh. And that's the thing. Like, honestly, and that's what, when you try to get the people to say or explain why it's different, they can't. And that's the funniest part to me. Like, did you see the SNL sketch with Tiana Taylor and Keenan, just making the sound? All white people in the comments, "This isn't funny." I was like, well, actually, it's hilarious, but it's not really meant to be funny. Because the guy, "Oh, well, see, we've never seen the police just attacking citizens." Well, no, see, I didn't mean that, but like, I mean, just openly in front of everybody. Like, oh. Yeah, that sketch did eat him up. SNL, they be having like one good sketch a year, but that was a good one. You know, I think that, let this be a lesson to people. So somebody said, how about no police? Let this be a lesson to people. Because first of all, ICE technically aren't police. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, you see these same behaviors with U.S. military abroad. I mean, you saw that thing the other day. There was a tourist, an American tourist, in a Japanese area that had a heavy U.S. military concentration, like right by a U.S. military base. And next thing you know, the military has this man. They claim later they assumed he was military as well, but they have this man. They hem him up. They slam him to the ground. I think they took him onto their base. It was all this craziness. There were no police there. This happened in Japan. It's all about entitlement. And at the end of the day, if you are somebody who they deem as lesser than them or whatever, they're going to try and do things to you. And that's all there is to it. I mean, God, they say no police. There didn't used to be police. Before the 1800s, like literally before the 20th century, there were no police. Like organized police in every city, that was not a thing. And the people still cut up. What did they have instead? They had slave patrols. They had the people who were going to make sure that you weren't loitering, that you weren't indigent. There's always going to be some kind of force to tell you why you shouldn't be living your life. Yes, ask now. Child, I'm going to tell y'all again, whoever wants to benefit from this, listen, stay inside. What if you're black? Whatever is going on out there, you can watch on the news. Like, if they are willing to 2 weeks apart off 2 white citizens using bullets on camera in front of the whole wide world, just imagine what they'll do to you. Stay your ass in the house. There's nothing out there for you. I promise you. And honestly, you can do what the spirit moves you to do, but I don't even think black people should be making videos and whatnot the way that they are. Yeah, I said it. Because here's the thing. It gives people license to say something to you. You know? The only video I've made is we already lived this 1,000,001 times, and the reason it's happening right now is because y'all don't see black people as people. So let that be a lesson to you. And things are never going to get better until you fix your anti-blackness. That's the video I made. But the rest of the damn stuff, that I'm not getting in that. It's true. Blooming Peach says, don't make videos, don't bring awareness. That's why so many people feel entitled to black labor. For positive, sure. For positive, sure. But not only that, it makes people feel like, okay, now they have a right to say something to you. Well, you made a video, you should be out there, and you should do this, and you should do that. Baby, all I have to do is stay black and die. And I put that on everything I love. Period. Black people in America have already done their part by voting the right way. And that is where it literally matters. So what else do they expect us to do? I don't know what else they expect us to do, but I ain't doing a damn thing. And honestly, I don't even be including black men. Baby, try to ride our coattails. Baby, 78% is a C. 92% is an A. There's a rule between an A and a C. So I don't put equitable blame on them, but they deserve some blame, because they should not have been splitting the vote. They should not have been making Kamala fight for and waste her time trying to beg them. They bear some responsibility. Not as much as the other people, but they bear some. But as for the other people, baby, my Aunt used to say, you've already been paid for. You know, your ancestors have done this and done that and done the third so you can have a happy life. My part's been done. Okay? So, did all I could for you. Be blessed. I actually don't know the voting breakdown on that. What exactly happened to the African immigrants? But I mean, let's call a spade a spade. A lot of the African diaspora immigrants had to be told and begged not to vote for Trump. You could see it in cities with large Haitian populations. Haitian populations. After that man said they ate dogs and cats and lived in an S-hole country, they still had to put up big old billboards saying no, not to vote for him. So you do, in fact, get what you pay for. L.C. Clements said a good number of black men said that Kamala had to earn their vote, and they don't. She doesn't talk to them, and that's on period. I am gonna say this live because this has been a long time coming. This is a lesson that people really needed, and it's amazing to me. Sometimes I just sit, or I'll be on the treadmill, and I shake my head because I'm like, I can't believe it's a lesson people needed, but apparently it is. I was like, they really would raise the country to the ground, RAZE, raise the country to the ground rather than let a black woman be the president. it's I think it's funny, but it's just also so ridiculous. It's so, so, so ridiculous. But baby, if they like it, let me tell you who loves it. Because I mean, don't let me say what I want to say, because then I'll be without platform, so I'll just be quiet. It's predictable. I don't know how sad it is. It's more predictable than anything. You know what I'm really curious to see? I'll say this. So both of the people, even though they've been white, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, they weren't the right kind of white. They were liberal white, even though Preddy was a gun owner. So I'm curious because I don't know if you all saw the guy from Homeland Security, the anonymous guy giving his interview and talking about how everything's about to ramp up and what they've been talking about internally at these agencies and how they're sending out all these untrained guys for ICE. They only have 47 days of training and they're sending them to places like Minnesota and how it's going to lead to all these crazy outcomes. The point is, I wonder with all of these new circumstances, if the next person who gets it is a Republican, what will happen then? I'm quite curious. Because, I mean, there's a very high likelihood. People forget that a lot of the people who come out to these things are going to aggravate you. They're going for the purpose of agitation. Hello, Kyle Rittenhouse. So I think that those people are so belligerent that even though they agree with ICE and they're like trying to go up there to stir up foment, there's a good chance that they're going to get into some kind of clash, and that'll be that. And then I want to see what happens. They are going to end up getting the wrong one. They surely are. They surely, and I think it's going to probably be some kind of firefight situation because those people walk around armed to the teeth all the time. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen. And just in everyday life too, because these guys don't have any training. And just a reminder, the police who had a drop of training, they were still out here unaliving black people left, right, and center. So you're sending out these crazed people who are like bent on violence, who haven't had a lick of proper training. And they are also like wire's edge. They've been up all night now because the people are outside their hotel rooms honking their horns and playing music, which is awesome. And they already feel like everybody should get out of their way. They already are just so hype all the time. So I'm telling you, somebody's going to step on their foot or skip them at the McDonald's and it's going to be a bloodbath. Yes, that was actually brilliant. And I think we're going to reap the benefits. So L.C. Clemens says, and they can't quit or they have to pay that $10,000 bonus back. Listen, anybody who would take a job like that for 10 grand as a bonus or whatever is indigent. Like, not only do they not have the long-term thinking, they are like on the edge. So they can never afford to pay it back. And they're not going to quit. Even though they're being doxxed by their kids, even though they're having all these hard times, they would quit if they could, but they can't. So it was actually a very smart provision to put that clause in there that they are stuck. And think about it. Think about how bad the government had to know things were going to get to put that clause in there. Because I've never even heard of that. I've never even heard of that. Levian Rose, probably. I don't know that it's true overall because, each state is its own entity. Each state has different requirements. So I'm sure there are states where that's true, that American law enforcement trains less than other countries. But I will say a lot of other countries have an educational requirement. You can't just do the police academy or whatever. You have to actually go to college. So by that sense, every state in the U.S. has a less strict requirement. But the other requirements, it goes by state. Oh yeah. Somebody said, imagine a black person going to the protest uh, and getting RPGD, not even popped because we are getting, a million times worse treatment. Yeah, no. Baby, they ain't got to worry about me. And that's why a lot of these guys go for it, because it doesn't require school or whatever. And I mean, if you have a degree as a cop, you can automatically get in for certain kinds of officer training. And it's just like the military, you get a higher rank and everything like that. Well, that's not true. That is just a plain falsehood. America's not the only country that has armed police. I've been places, and there are plenty of armed police abroad. Don't believe everything you read. And I mean, honestly, I don't understand how people are supposed to enforce the law without arms if you have an armed population. I actually don't have an issue with them having arms because most of the population, at least the population you're going to encounter, is going to be armed. But I do have an issue with the fact that they are not trained more in restraint, and that, they're not held accountable for what happens afterwards. Because it's all very good and well to take somebody's pension or put them on half pension, to put them on suspension, whatnot. If you are in a shooting that has been deemed unjustified, and we'll get to who gets to make that determination in a minute, but if you're in a shooting that's been deemed unjustified, you should lose everything, and you should also have to go to jail the same way a civilian would. Because the only reason you should ever be drawing, in my opinion, on your job as a police officer should be self-defense or the defense of others, just like an ordinary person. I cannot draw if I'm not defending myself or defending others. So you should have to meet the same burden as an officer. And just like if the prosecutor or whoever found my story lacking, and they look into it and they're like, this wasn't self-defense, it was an execution, I'm going to prison. There's no oopsie daisy. She lied, I'm going to take away her paycheck. No, I would have to go to jail. And that's what the penalty should be. And it's not. And I don't like that. Let me tell you something. I'm going to say this, and I need to get back up and start these dishes. A lot of times people will do something and they swear they're hurting you, but they don't realize they're hurting themselves. And this is a perfect example. This is what I talked about right now. The IDF are the ones training the police in a lot of cities, and they're training ICE. They're training all these people. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you all remember this, but back before there was an opioid crisis, the doctors were handing out painkillers like candy to white patients, and they underprescribed to black patients because of a bunch of racist mythology about our pain tolerance and whatnot. And they wouldn't even offer you. You could have dental surgery, you could have open heart surgery, and they were not offering you any for real painkillers. They were telling you to take that Tylenol 3 and get the fuck out their face. But let me tell you, look at how that worked out. The reason why there's an opioid crisis and it affects certain demographics exclusively is because of who they were overprescribing it to. They thought they were hurting us, but it was a classic case of reaping and sowing, and they ended up shooting themselves in the foot. Did they not? That's how this is going to work out too. They thought when they were getting the IDF soldiers and whatnot to train up all of their law enforcement that they were really about to treat us like, prisoners of war, like enemy combatants. They did all that stuff so they could practice it on the people who they had in holding, or the black people on the streets who they thought were going to be protesting. Well, turn to your neighbor and say, surprise, 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 surprise. Like, baby, we are not going out there. So they can put all their sleeper holds on, a different group of people. Reverse uno. It ain't happening. It ain't even happening. So that's crazy. Remember when we kind of warned you all about all that stuff? Remember when Michelle Alexander, who wrote The New Jim Crow and whatnot, was saying how literally this was the same thing that was happening in her research? And remember how all the history professors have told you you're aping Germany in 1938. I guess we're probably up to like 1941 now, but remember that? Oh. Hallie said, remember those fake AI generated videos of black people planning to attack ICE officials on TikTok? I didn't see those, nor did I hear about them, but I'm not surprised because they're always trying to get in our face. Remember, what's that fool's name? Bill, we hate him. He's on HBO. Bill Mayer. Where are all the black people at the protest? Oh my God. And our photographer has looked through all these photos. There are no black people. Where are the black people? Why are you in our business? Why are you in our business? Linda Evans, I would actually like to respond to this. She said, can we stop hating white people we don't know? It's so much. I just want to encapsulate so much into my response. First of all, indifference is not hate. We just don't care. And second of all, can we stop hating white people we don't know? I don't know. When is the law going to stop punishing black people for existing? Lonely P says, I will continue to hate. Girl, you wild. You wild. And babe, if hatred is measured in violence, it looks like the government is the one who hates you. Oh, that's all I have. Ooh, is this your biggest concern right now? You literally have a fascist in office. You're losing rights to vote day by day. I just want to pause real quick and say, the Attorney General of the United States of America sent a letter to the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, and said, we would be happy to withdraw ICE if you give us all the voting, the private voting information for the citizens of your state. And let us basically know how the next election is going to be conducted. They want to take away your right to vote secretly and freely. And this is an open letter anybody can read. It's literally been published in the newspapers, and I actually put up a link on my last video. The Attorney General of the United States is asking the governor of Minnesota to break the law in order to remove ICE from his state. So you have occupying forces. Don't even give Linda attention, people. And this is the great part. I love this. Linda says, what does this government matter or country, though? Nothing matters at all. And this is the great part. When they have been caught dead to rights, they want to go to apathy. Nothing matters in this world. Now, this is where I miss TikTok, because I already, I had put in so much work learning how to use that. Oh, wait. That ought to do it. Okay. Yep, Linda is now hidden from the channel, so you don't have to talk to whatever that was anymore. I love, but people have some good comments, so I'm gonna go ahead and read those. Allie says, "Can white people stop systematically disadvantaging Black people?" Yes. Challenge. Alessandra, let us sip our haterade in peace. Group Parlor says she's indifferent. I wish I could be indifferent. And Lord knows, I only hate the people who I'm familiar with, like Bill Mayer. But there is a level of just disgust. Because, wow, it's almost impossible to realize people would destroy their own lives. They would destroy their children's future. They would destroy the country just to keep Black people from having a fair shake. And it's just, it's incredible, but it's so true. I'm like, my mind is literally blown. I was just, I know I keep naming weird places that I was, but like, I'll literally be in the shower, just living my best life, singing and having a good time, and it'll just hit me. People would rather live in some kind of post apocalyptic wasteland, which is what they voted for, than see a Black woman be the president. And it's just, I don't know. I guess it's funny. No, they have a very firm grasp of reality. Like, guys, here's the thing. We don't whatever. Like, compared to white people, when it comes to racism, we really don't know ball, because like, we're not in the room when they're talking to each other. They knew what was gonna happen. Like, this is why one of the only people to predict the election properly in 2016 was what's his name? Bowling for Columbine, Michael Moore. And it's not because this, because that, because the other. It's because he's white. Like, literally, he was one of the few people to say, I know what indigent white men sound like when they're going another way, and this is what they're sounding like, and here's what they're gonna do. And I was like, God damn. They sure did do that dumb shit. This man, he knew something. He knew ball. And he knew it, and a handful of people knew it in 2024. And I'm an expert because I'm a Black woman. But there's only so much you can know from the outside, you know? And we cannot comprehend what is going on in the minds of people. Like, this is a mental illness, you have to understand. There was talk a while back of adding racism to the DSM, and I think I'm actually in favor of it now. I wasn't at the time, but I have changed my mind because this is a mental illness. Like, what? So they got it. This is all them, baby. Honey, and that's the thing. L, she said, Black people will survive through hell, and they think Black people will die out now. Like, people really don't understand. Like, when people are falling out, frothing at the mouth about the red hat man and his dumbass followers, I'm like, baby, they'll be like, oh my God, and this is the worst president we ever. I'm like, baby, at least a fifth of the American presidents have owned slaves. So yeah, things aren't great, but they're not like the worst they've ever been in my life. So it's fine. Like, they could be much worse. Yeah, when you're naming the founding fathers, you're naming people who were literally assaulting Black people. Hey there, Thomas Jefferson. You're naming people who were chasing Black people and trying to enslave them for decades. Hi, George Washington. Like, a woman escaped him And this is a man who his whole life he is famous for shaking off tyranny, fighting the king. A woman escaped his tyranny and he spent thousands of dollars back in the 1700s trying to capture her and unalive her. What a freak. So, we good. Like, yeah, it's not great, but could it be much worse? Sure could. Brianna says, "You kill me every time you say, hey, hello." 2 minute topic says, and his psychotic wife, Martha. Man, I hope him and that woman are roasting in hell right now. And they can clip it and they can run it back and tell people I said it. I hope him and his wife, I hope the kidnapper, I hope the pedo and his wife are burning in hell. Yes. Yes, no, 100%. Elle says Black excellence, especially in Black women, is a formidable force, and she's watched people being extremely threatened by this globally. It's really wild. Like, you can know something intellectually, and I think this is all information we've all known, like Black people have known intellectually for the longest time. Like, there's a reason you grow up, your parents are telling you you gotta do twice as much to get half as far, and you gotta make sure you always have your stuff together, and document, document, document. Anybody who is Black can tell you we've grown up, we've cut our teeth on these things, but it's just crazy. You know what it's like? When you're a kid and they tell you all these rules about, spelling. I before E except after C, and my personal thing I've invented. And when E sounds like A, like in neighbor and way. Anyways, um, you can go ahead and popularize that. I invented it. So help your children learn how to spell. But anyway, yeah, you're teaching your kid how to speak English, and you're telling them I before E except after C. You're telling them, the vowels, A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y and all the rest of that shit. You know how when you get grown, you never have to think about that stuff. You just know it, right? Like one day it all sort of just coalesces in your mind and you just know how to spell things and you never ever think about it again. That's what this moment is. When you're a little kid, your parents are telling you the rules. They're telling you have to do twice as much to get half as far, and don't argue yes sir, no sir, tape your police interactions, don't do this and don't do that. Like when I was a kid, just like before 16, about to learn how to drive, my parents were very adamant that your car always needed to be right. You need to make sure your brake lights are in working order. I gotta get my brake light changed. Been driving around with it out. My dad would be furious. You got to make sure your tag is up to date because they're looking for a reason to pull you over. So don't even create a problem. Well, when you get grown, all of those rules, they just sort of coalesce in your mind. They become one and you just understand. And the same way, you never have to think about the rules of spelling, The same way, you're not running through the alphabet song every time you want to file something, you just know B comes before D, E comes before F, X comes before Y. You just know it. You just know what is going to happen next in these situations. It's just like that. Essay says she really thinks being a Black woman is one of the greatest joys in life. I completely agree. I would not trade. I would not trade. I want to be a Black woman specifically in every life and every timeline, because the more people try to make something a negative, that's the more baller it is. I don't think most women would trade with men. Like, yeah, do you wish life was safer and stuff? Sure. But do you want to be a man? Hell no. So I would not trade being a black woman for anything on this earth. I love being a black woman. It is the thing because everybody wants to be just like you. Somebody said, "Have I seen the opponent of Naomi Osaka? I was flabbergasted how little it took for her to be triggered." I maybe saw 30 seconds, not even that much of that interaction. Because when I see that stuff, I just turn it off. Your brain, it doesn't know what's real and what's fake. Your brain doesn't know when you watch something if it's happening to you or not. And I was like, dead that. I was like, I already actually, if you want to see my ideas on stuff like that, I have a video on here on YouTube. It's called Black Women the World is Watching You. And I'm literally talking about what happened with Coco and Sablinka and what happened with oh god, her name starts with an S. The S tennis player and the other white woman who was racist. So please, 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 please. And it's the same thing every time. Like literally, we are in month 6 of the same thing happening every time one of these new white European women gets on the court with a black woman or black adjacent woman. And I personally am tired. Because remember that girl? Oh God, what is her name? The S tennis player, Sloan. Oh God, that was killing me. The girl literally said, "You don't have any education or class." I'm like, "Cause you lost." Like, what is going on? It literally happens every tournament. And honestly, I know that the black tennis players can't do this, but if it were me, I would set up some kind of group or some kind of union or something of that nature, the same way you have a National Medical Association, that's for black people, the same way you have a National Bar Association, also for black people. I would set up some sort of National Tennis Players Association, and when they get to clowning, none of us are playing, and make it a blanket thing until tennis recognizes that X, Y, and Z language should not only be punishable by some sort of whatever on the court, but it should be finable. It should be, you should be excluded from certain things, like you should lose rank and stuff. Until that happens, you're not going to get us. You're not going to get us. Ostapinko, yeah, that tired bitch. Yeah, I know that people are just flummoxed. They don't know what to do. So Esther says, every 5 years, I think the black woman tennis genius era is over, and then boom, another genius black girl appears. Honey, I'm living. I'm literally existing for the day I know to be coming, perhaps 5, 10 years from now, when Alexis, that's Serena's daughter, will take the court. Have you seen her? Have you seen that little baby hold a racket? Oh my God, she's going to be a powerhouse. I'm just shaking my head because imagine Serena with Serena's money behind her. Like, imagine Serena, because Serena and Venus had to train with disadvantages. They had to train with their father, and then they had a professional coach later. But, they were doing their work in public courts, and just, they were ordinary people. But imagine that kind of talent and drive, but with private coaches, tennis court in your backyard, the best people in the world, mother and aunt. Like, baby, it's going to be like Simone Biles in gymnastics. It's going to be pure domination. It's going to be, you're not even going to be allowed to be on the court if she's there. Like, this is going to be embarrassing for the whole wide world. I'm so excited. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. And Venus just got married. She might have children too. Oh my God. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And have you seen the black figure skaters? Oh my God. And this is why I realized I need to get my money up. because although children, I think I'm really good on having my own. I saw them, the ones, the black kids who were skating to Motown Philly. I said their skating is perfect. Their skating, I actually used to follow figure skating. I have never seen skating, pure skating, so fluid. Most ice skaters, it still looks like crazy effort. But I said they need a lift coach. I'm not blinded by my race loyalty. They need a lift coach badly. And I said, what I wouldn't give to be able to just send them the money so they could have a lift coach. I said, ooh. I said, I need to get my money up so I can be like helping all these young black professionals in the world. Yeah, their skating was tremendous. The rhythm, the sync, it was absolutely, I don't think I've seen better skating, even Olympics. Excellent. Excellent. But the lifts, they need to work on that. And I was like, well, they just need a pro. They need someone who can help them. Yes, that's a big problem we have, Alessandra. There are fewer black figure skaters, and they do fine us for doing better tricks. Because, yeah, I know they probably have it. I've seen others of their videos, and I thought they couldn't, I had not seen them jump before, so maybe they were afraid to jump or they didn't think they could do it in sync. They jump well. They just have to work on those lifts. Yes, Kels, we don't have enough benevolent black benefactors because either they can't afford it or they don't see the value. A lot of times, black people who reach whatever levels financially, socially, they either don't have a vested interest in reaching backwards or they go full coon, like Kanye. So, and then I think too, the people who have a vested interest in reaching backwards, people like they do a lot of good. I think we tend to focus, like the hyper focus on the areas that we have benefited from. For example, you'll see the Oprahs of the world give to education, and that's great. That's another thing. It goes disproportionately to black boys, but we'll come to that in a minute. But they will give to education. They will endow a scholarship. They'll have a school. Even LeBron's got a school. Like, but I don't think that we think the arts are worthy. And so they do not get the attention and the financial support that they deserve. Yes, don't help me. What is her name? Y'all know I struggle with names. But my lovely little French ice skater. But yes, she's the only one who can backflip and land on one skate. We love her. You would think the arts would be a big focus, but I feel like we as a people, we do not have a value. Not like a financial value is what I mean for the arts. Because we're the most artistic people in the world. And I don't just mean like physical arts. Who is writing literature like us, baby? We've produced Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, Baldwin, Ellison, even though I hate him, and Petrie. We're out here literally inventing genres all the time. Everybody wants to be like us. It's just that we expect the artists to support themselves. We think, oh, if your work, oh, thank you, yes, Bonale. We think if your work is sufficient, you'll find an audience, you'll get money somehow. But we don't invest into it, and it drives me crazy. Octavia Butler. And that's the thing, where you see a black artist, a lot of times there is a white benefactor. Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes had the same white benefactor during the Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance. Later, Maya Angelou had a man who literally just paid her a stipend so she could focus on her writing. And Octavia Butler won the Nebula. And without winning the Nebula earlier on in her career, she never would have been able to do the work she did later. What's that black artist? Oh God, there's a prize you win. It's the Genius Grant. She also won that, by the way. Butler won that too. But there's a Genius Grant that you win, and I think now it's $1 million, but it used to be like a few 100,000, and people use that for support. And we're not the ones giving these things out. We often, benefit, but I'm like, we need to be the ones endowing, you know? We need to be the ones setting up scholarships, writing fellowships. Why do HBCUs not have MFA programs? I've been screaming about this for years, decades, because we get mad when people have to go to white schools, but it's like you're the one not giving them a space. Like there's like one HBCU now with an MFA, and oh God. I don't even think it's about not appreciating art because we've always been on the cutting edge. Like we be producing some art. But I think that we think the artists need to support themselves, and it's not the way things should be. And the other thing that drives me absolutely crazy is we will go through very fertile periods, Harlem Renaissance is a great example, where our work is getting international recognition, and we don't have any of the work left over, you know? White people in the Harlem Renaissance, they were crazy for black art and literature, and so they were buying it all up. I mean, it's fine to buy up a book because there's always more, you can always print more, but they would buy up all this black art, and now 100 years later, literally, we're in 2020s, what do we have? What do we have? What do we have as a signifier of that time period? So it's like, yeah, you lose when every recognition of your work is coming from outside, and then every physical thing that you have, like the actual art, it goes outside. I mean, it's happening right now. A lot of people don't know this, but after 20 like 18ish, a lot of black archives begin to go into non-black hands. So there was a project, I want to say Emory. I want to say the Coca-Cola Foundation endowed Emory, but don't hold me to that. But I know that Emory was one of the main perpetrators. They're going after black archives. So like when a black luminary dies, you have a choice. It's not like you don't have options. You can either make provision and you can leave your archive where you want it left and hopefully send some money for the organization and maintenance of your stuff. If somebody asked you before you pass, you might sell your archive or you might make some kind of deal for your archive. For example, what's the man's name? Don't help me. Well, actually help me. He wrote plays. He wrote The Dutchman and this like Amiri Baraka. That was gonna drive me crazy. Amiri Baraka gave Howard his archive. I think he was still alive, but it was with the provision that all of his descendants could go to Howard for free. And that's smart. That's real smart. So, anyways, and then you have people like Toni Morrison. They might have gone to school one place, they might have worked other universities, and then they might give their archive to a third university, which is exactly what happened. She decided to go that way. But now her archive is at a PWI rather than an HBCU. No, it's good for my brain. Alicia Underwood teased me about saying don't help me. I really try to figure these things out myself. If I'm stuck on a word or whatever, it's better for your brain if you can. But the point is, a lot of people, black luminaries, they die with no arrangements in place. And so what's been happening is these big universities with big backers behind them are now buying up a lot of these black archives, and other people will not have access. No shade, no tea. But Octavia Butler's archive is at Huntington. It's at the Huntington Library in California. So you need credentials, you know? I mean, which is fair. You need credentials to get into any library, but it's going to be a lot harder for you to have the right credentials to get into the Huntington and read her archive. So it becomes an issue of access, you know? I actually did a project when I was in my PhD phase, and like literally black people have only been able officially to go into certain archives for 50, 60 years. Like I traced this one doctoral candidate, and they were like, I wanted to do work in a certain subject. And think about it. If you wanted to do work in certain subject matter before a certain year, you were just shit out of luck, because you can't go into the library, so you can't access the archive, and that's the end of your ambition. So yeah, I don't have much to say on Basquiat because I've actually never appreciated his art. I've I've actually seen some of his paintings in person. I was like, ooh, child, this is kind of a mess, but and I'm not anti. I'm really not. I think art is subjective. I really do. Well, here's the thing. I think some of it is periodization because I have never been a like postmodern girl. Like when it comes to art, it doesn't do much for me. Well, yes, Honey Fire. I was going to talk about Black boys and men being funded more. I mean, no shade, no tea. Oprah gave all of this money at Morehouse, you know, paid for all of those thousands of men to get their education. Spelman was right there, bud. It was right there. And I get it. I get it. We hear all this rah rah about the plight of the demographic. And you're told, oh, there are more of them in jail than in college, and they're endangered. I'm like, they can't be more endangered than black women. It cannot be so. But if ever you see a black celebrity, especially a male, getting involved in that space, it's for the benefit of the boys. Like I said, LeBron's got a school now. What's that other fool? You know, somebody help me. That school, their whole big shtick is that 100% of the kids go to college. It's all black boys. I forget what celebrities associated with that one. I want to. It's one of those northern ones. Somebody help me with that. But the point is, if there is an endeavor, and what drives me so crazy is it'll be women starting these things. There's actually a congresswoman, and she started an initiative, five 5,000 or 500, some kind of, there's a five involved, role models, and it's all about black boys. I'm like, girl, you're a woman. You are a woman, and you, I would hope, are supposed to represent the interests of black women. How come you have not started a foundation for black women? And that thing's been going for decades. And I don't so much care. Yeah, Robert Smith did give whatever to Morehouse, but I don't care if a black man gives to other black men. Do it and leave us alone. But I'm always like, what the fuck is going on when black women give all this money or all this time, energy, effort founding groups for black men? They wouldn't spit on you. So why? And then, you know what makes me mad? When somebody outside of our group will see value in us, and then black men try to talk down on it. When Goldman Sachs was doing their initiative where they wanted to give 10 million or something like that in venture capital to black women because it's been proven that we will run more successful businesses, black men had so much to say. Why don't you shut the fuck up? Because you didn't give us $1, not one penny. Yes, it's true. As it says, black women are forced to figure it out ourselves. And yeah, while we're stronger for it, we are never recognized as such. And she says, I'm divesting from it all. And that's on period. And that's on period. Yes. The nine, I think so. The ninth, sorry. She says that's because they wanted it to go to them. Exactly. And I always tell you, whenever the demographics complain about X, Y, and Z, it's not going to end racism. What they mean is it's not going to benefit them. When they tell you divesting is a waste of time, traveling is a waste of time, blah, blah, blah is a waste of time, they mean black men aren't going to get any benefit from you doing it, so you shouldn't get to do it. Don't be no fool, baby. Stay in school. Because remember how they were telling you how your education wasn't going to keep you warm at night and how you were a dummy for getting in debt to go to school. Who wants to reap all the benefits now from you? Who wants you now to help a brother out and to reach back and, oh my God, your education should be benefiting the community? You said our education was stupid. Worthless was exactly the word you used. So, oh, they're totally jealous. They're totally jealous. Haley says she feels like black men are jealous of the way black women are so educated and professional and how they got ahead in the same conditions as them. Literally. Because whenever black men start talking about how they're so much more oppressed, I'm like, tell me more. Because we're going to the same schools, facing the same conditions, living in the same neighborhoods. How could you possibly be more oppressed? If anything, women are going through way more because we are vulnerable physically. You know, you know what predators you all are and how you are assaulting every woman or child that moves. And the numbers reflect that. The numbers of black children being sexually assaulted by black men are treble the average for other groups. So please cut it. They do get angry, and I wanted to make a video and when I have time, but I don't know if you all saw that video everybody was stitching back in like December. It was this black boy. It's like, I shouldn't say boy. It's like a late teens, sorry, late teens, maybe early 20s. But he was saying, oh, when you get out of high school, there's nothing to do but trap, and I have to say it like he said it. He said, when you get out of high school, outside of being a doctor or a lawyer, there's nothing to do but, and he named a bunch of stuff that's all illegal. But I said, let's call a spade because the very fact he said doctor or lawyer, he said outside of that, you have to trap or scam or this or that. He said what he meant. In other words, he mentioned doctors and lawyers because he feels like they're making a certain amount of money. And the only way to make a certain amount of money outside of lots of education is to trap, to scam, to blah, blah, blah. So that's the thing. I don't think that black men think that there's no link between education and money. It's just a lot of them don't want to put in the time. A lot of them don't want to put in the time. They will call it stupid or feminine or whatever, but they either aren't capable or they don't want to invest up front. They would rather go the short route. And that's what all that stuff is. Trapping and scamming and whatnot. That's the short route to money. That's the short route to long money. Oh, he did say being a rapper. He did say playing ball, stuff like that. So, yeah, they want a lot of money in a hurry. And that's why they want to do only those few things exclusively. Exactly. That's why they don't want to take up a trade, because it has nothing to do with school. A lot of them have made this big deal about education being this and that and how it's all against black men. You could be a plumber, you could be an electrician, you could be a skilled carpenter, you could be, there are a million and one trades, a million and one. And you could be trained in a couple of years if you don't want to go to school. But no. And that there's no big layout of money either. So it's not like you're going to get in debt. But no, you just want a bunch of money in a hurry. And you don't want to get called on it. Because I feel like a lot of people were like, not validating what he said, in the sense that they weren't saying this is the right way to think, but they were validating it in the sense that they were like, oh, I know it can seem like, or yeah, I understand how you feel that way. Like, they were acting like this was normal, basically. Ollie said, and then when they get on, baby, I was literally just fussing with my trainer about that this morning. I'll do anything to avoid working out. No, I'm just playing. I was working out while we were fussing about it. But yeah, it started out, we were talking about bodies, we were talking about surgery. And so we were just talking about like side effects. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't understand why anybody would want whatever. But he was like, oh, these girls want to get attention from men. I said, hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute, buddy. I was like, it's definitely he's like, basically he was like, oh, it doesn't matter what you say to these women, like they're never going to believe that they look good or whatever, it's all about how they feel. I was like, no. I said, women believe men's actions rather than their words. I was like, men can tell you, if you're with a man, he can say you're beautiful all day long, but if he's following a bunch of girls on IG who look nothing like you, of course you're not going to believe him, because he's a liar. And he was like, oh, well, and women do. I was like, no. I was like, and then we started getting down to the marrow of it, which is black men and the negative toxic environment they create with the like beauty standards. Because I was like, he was like, oh, well, the beauty standards. I was like, well, let's see who sets the beauty standard. Because like, you've never seen a black woman go in and get fat sucked out of her ass. You haven't seen that. I was like, the Eurocentric beauty standard is not what's causing us to have body issues. I was like, whatever's happening in the country at large, it doesn't matter to us. What matters to black women who still seek the validation of these Negroes is what those men are saying, doing, consuming. And they're pushing this idea that, you have to look, your figure has to look African and your face got to look European. And baby, they tired. Why, thank you. VR says she really enjoyed my video on Black Men, Money, and Control. So that one's featuring Ryan Davis, guys, if you want to go check out that one. I'm hoping to do a new Ryan Davis video this week, but child, we'll see what the Lord says. Well, honestly, I'm going to get back up and finish up these dishes. Hopefully you all won't mind the noise. I'm letting people know I'm going to do it anyway, so hopefully you won't mind the noise, but I'm going to do it anyway. Ooh. I think I needed to sit for a little while, though. That gym had me sore than a mother. Ollie says she loves the movie Breakdown, so I thank you. You're most kind. What I think about the censorship thing, I think you get what you pay for. I think you get what you pay for. Again, it's just like the whole censorship on child-free content in certain countries. How stupid is that, Because first of all, when you censor something, you create curiosity about it. half the books I've read in my life, I heard it got banned, so now I want to read it. And that's what's going to happen now. You know, that's what happened with this whole Alex Pray thing. I had not heard about anything. I hadn't heard anything about anything like the first day it happened. I hadn't heard anything about anything. But what I did see was a bunch of people saying, oh my God, I can't see this. It's censored. I put up a comment. It got taken down. Immediately, I stopped what I'm doing and I typed his name right into Google. I said, I must know more. So yeah, it doesn't work the way you think it's going to work, especially American. I've never known a more contrary population of human beings. You tell an American they can't do something, have something, they feel like, oh my God, I've been told my whole life I'm free and I can do whatever I want. So I have to know more. I have to see more. You're not going to tell me what I can't have. Like, that's half of the problem with Republicans right now. Somebody tell them they can't do something. You know, you can't go outside because there's a pandemic. You can't tell me what to do. I'll show you. Wear a seatbelt, dumbass. No, it's my right as an American not to. Oh God, isn't that the girl who did the Crayola color palettes? I swear, leave these niggas alone. Y'all really gonna get enough of them. I remember when that girl went viral. I was glad for her. It was. I remember when Super Sense went viral. But I said, that must have been 10 years ago. Yeah. Because I saw her on Clutch magazine online. I literally remember this. I said, 10 years ago, this will end poorly. And behold, I was right again. Baby, let me explain you something. Let me explain y'all a few things. If you're with a man who makes less than you, and it's not like the difference between a million and a billion or something. If you are with a man who ain't got nothing going on in his life, you will come to a sticky end. And I put that on everything I love. Oh, yeah. Nashay says she learned in her intro to social work class that the more kids women have, it increases the risk for their being in poverty. This is literally why birth control was invented, guys. Did you know that? Birth control was invented for two reasons: maternal mortality and poverty. The greatest predictor in the world of whether or not you are going to be impoverished are two things: how many children you have and who you marry. Experts can predict with almost 100% accuracy what your life will look like when you're in your 20s, just based on those two factors. So yeah, I don't know why every woman thinks that they're like the chosen one who can overturn these like social, economic, etc. facts, but yeah, you're probably not. You're probably, in fact, not the chosen one. And if you make the same poor decisions other women have made, you will get the same outcome. But you don't have to believe me. Far be it from me, baby. Who am I? Who am I? Yeah. RVO, yeah, she said not just poverty, but also who's going to be behind the workforce. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I keep telling you all, or maybe I didn't tell this group of people, so I'll tell you. It's not just having the baby. It's literally everything that comes after it. Because a lot, and I'll say this, because I'm black. While the sink is filling up, we're going to go get my charger. A lot of black women will say, "Oh my God, it was misogynoir. Why I didn't get that promotion. It was the white man." Let me tell you something. You have to consider the entirety of your life before you go having a child. And here's what I mean by that. Black women, we love to go to school. We love to be educated. We are literally the most educated population. So we'll go out there, we'll get that bachelor's, that master's, maybe even that PhD. And we think that that is like in game. You know, I've won. I've won at education. I will win at life. It's a lie from the pit of hell, babe. And when their coworker, a white woman, who has less education and possibly less experience, gets that promotion, we will think it is always the fault of the misogynoir. And that is actually not true. Something I've seen frequently is we will have babies with no support. And then when you have a baby and there's no support, it's just you. So when the baby gets sick, you know, they get sick all the time. That's what they do. When the baby gets sick, when the baby can't go to daycare, when the baby has an issue, when the baby has a doctor's appointment, it's just you. And so you cannot be as consistent as you could have been at work. If you keep your job, you are going to be demoted. And the woman who either has no children or who has children with a husband so she can get a nanny, she can have steady daycare or whatever, who might be less educated and bring in less clients and more whatever than you, she's going to get picked because they know they can count on her. The ninth, I say skip the village. She said, you must have a village if you have a child. Skip the village and just don't have any children, honestly. Because the thing is, a village is nebulous, you know? Listen, a real life village can get an illness, right? And your village can burn down. Like your village can undergo a crisis. Maybe the plague is sweeping your village this week. Maybe some raiders came and took everybody in your village out. You cannot count on a village. And that may be unfair, but that's just the way life is. Like if you cannot do the thing, the thing is, if you are having a child, the only factors you should count are factors that can never change. You can't count on your health because your health can change and will change. For example, you can be disabled during pregnancy, which is actually a lot more common than people realize. So you shouldn't say, I can take care of this baby by myself because I'm young, healthy, fit, able-bodied. Cut it. You can lose mobility and whatnot during pregnancy and during labor. You saw that woman who got the epidural, but it wasn't really an epidural. It was some other kind of needle put in her during the birth, and now she is a quadriplegic. It happens. Things happen. Actually, so many women experience spinal issues who've gotten an epidural, which is why I don't want an epidural, but I could never have a child naturally, so I just not having kids. Channel Spectre said, yes. Channel Spectate says she saw that. That's the kind of thing I have nightmares about. I swear I have tocophobia so bad because just the thought of pregnancy. Ew. So literally, the only things you should be counting when it comes to having children are things that can't change. Your health can change, so you can't count that. Your income can change. You can't count your income. Now, if you have money stacked or you have investments, you can count those. Things that are static. For example, if you own your house, you can count that. That's a plus. I own my house. That'll always be true. That's fine. You can count. What else can you count? You cannot count your marital status unless you're counting it as a negative. For example, you can say you're unmarried. You can say, I need to account for the fact I am not married. That's fine, because that can only change, in a different direction. You can go from being unmarried to married and you're not counting on anything, but you cannot say, oh, I'm married. Cut it, because that can change. Lavian Rose says, as a child-free woman, your children are not my responsibility. Married women have tried to shame me for having so much free time, and I shouldn't be selfish so I can watch their kid. That happens to me. RV says, I'm sorry, VR, tired. The village has primarily been women, and now women are tired of other women who make poor decisions by the men they're birthing children for. My great-grandmother used to say when people used to ask her to babysit because she was an old woman, that's your pleasure. In other words, I didn't nut. You know, you're the one who got the orgasm, so why should I babysit your child? Love her, miss her. That's where I get all of this from. This is why I'm like I am. Alessandra said, people always get mad when I call having baby carrying parasite. It's facts, baby. If you call the child anything, if you say that's your F trophy, that's your crotch goblin, they're going to get upset, but it's still true. You know what the old people used to say, don't you? To pregnant women. Every child a tooth. That means women would lose their teeth during pregnancy because, you know, you're creating life and it has to take nutrients from somewhere. So it would be sucking the calcium out of your teeth and your bones. And that's why old women are walking around all osteoporosis and whatnot. Like, cut it, baby. Miss me with it. And things are a little better now. You know, you got your prenatal vitamins and stuff, but the essentials never really changed. If you think about the fact that we have the maternal mortality rate of the global South in America, it's crazy. But they ain't gonna catch me slipping, child, because I want to live. It ain't worth it, baby. As my great-grandmother used to say, it doesn't worth it. It doesn't worth it. That was a smart one right there. Yes, yes. Group Parlor says she saw so many Gen X women make the mistake of giving birth now in corporate America, or out of wedlock, sorry, in corporate America. She said the company will demote and passively oust you. And for what? That's what kills me. You know what it's like when women get married? Like, what'd you go and do that for? She was wise, miss her every day. I'm like, yeah, but what'd you go and do that for? When women say, and I did X, Y, and Z for, you know, like the sake of the relationship, whatever. I'm like, why? Why'd you do that? That was kind of dumb. What'd you go and do that for? That doesn't seem like. Sorry, I'm trying to get this thing like it's supposed to be, but it's hating on me. Well, whatever. Here. Oh, nope, that's gonna fall. Where is... Oh. Hold on. This is the ghetto, honestly. I'm trying to set this phone so I can read the comments and also still have it charging. Well, here, I'll just not have it charging for a while. Okay, that'll do. Yeah, that'll do. It happens. Alessandra says she still knows people who have messed up teeth after giving birth. It happens. You know, these things, they don't just go away. I think some people are more susceptible than other ones. Oh, yeah, I'm good. I was trying to get my phone set up so I could read the comments while washing the dishes. The oppression of the dishes is real. I feel like a slave. But I guess I'm just a slave to myself because they're my dishes alone. I'm the only one who lives here. I don't even have a pet to blame, so... Yes, the oppression of the dishes is real. But if you want to rock with me, we're doing this. We're washing dishes. We're cleaning kitchens. Sorry if it's noisy. Yeah, I was like, man, I can't have a pet. I saw my siblings over Christmas. I was like, oh, child, this is slavery. The dog likes, the dog doesn't like. The dog wants to go outside. You know, I just moved and I don't know how to work this dishwasher. I'm a little afraid to open it, to be honest. Because I tried and it was like resisting. So I was like, ooh, I think I'm gonna leave it alone. But I'm gonna have my dad come over here this weekend and check it out. VR says, I get irritated when my cats do nothing around the house while I'm at work. Baby, they got it. They got it. I miss that about my apartment. I use my dishwasher all the time there. I mean, I would run it if I had one mug. It's like, it's my house. I'm going to do what I want to do. Yeah, as soon as I've been trying to see, but like I said, I felt something. So I was like, I'm going to leave it alone till my dad comes. But there is one, so we'll see. Yeah, I wanted to get paper plates, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I wasn't raised that way. Of course, my mother had a housekeeper, so maybe I'm gonna have to change how I operate. Like, my mom is so funny because she raised us to be bougie, and then she'll be looking at us like, oh my God, y'all are so bougie. So we were at my twins' house for Thanksgiving, right? And we were hanging out. Mind you, I have 4 siblings, okay, and my 2 parents. So every meal is just like this big ordeal. And my mom was like, to my brother, don't you have any paper plates? And he said, I'm your child. Like, of course I don't have paper plates. Like, what the hell? And my mom thought, oh, he's just being dramatic, until she visited my sister recently, and she said the same thing. I'm like, Mommy, when we were kids, remember how you used to tell us how certain things were not for us? When I was a girl, my mother would just go on these rants, kind of like me. And she would be like, and we don't do blah, blah, blah in this house. Like, literally, when I was a girl, I mean, she had an explanation for everything. For example, I grew up only eating wheat bread. And my dad, I love him down, I really do. But he would try to buy white bread sometimes. And my mother would be like, absolutely not. She'd be like, you need to go back to the store and get wheat bread. And he'd be like, what? And my mother would say, in this house, we do X, Y, and Z. In this house, we eat wheat bread. In this house, we do this. In this house, we do that. So yeah, I grew up never using paper plates unless we were like at somebody else's house. But my mom did not do that. My mom said, I have a cabinet full of china. My mom actually collects sets of china. And, you know, she's like, I have only real silverware. Like, this is what we're doing here. So, oh well. Oh well to the other people. In this house, we use real dishes. And it's funny because to this day, like, if I go get Domino's or something, if I'm at my parents' house, and I ask my mom, would you like some pizza? And she says yes, I have to give her a real plate. Like, everybody else can be like eating pizza with a napkin or something like that. And she'll be like, yes, I would like a plate, please. It's funny because you'll see a room full of people and we'll have a container of some kind. Like, you know, when you go to Popeyes, they give you those little plastic boats or those little paper boats, depending on where you live. And honey, everybody else will have like Popeyes in a Popeyes container, and there'll be one plate in the microwave. Be like, that's my mommy's. My mom does that too. My mom does that too. Alexandra says, my mom puts Chick-fil-A on a plate, so I get it. My mother does that. The only time she will keep something in the container it came in is if she's eating a salad, because she likes to shake her salads around. She likes to put a little bit of dressing and shake her salad really hard. But oh my goodness, it doesn't matter what it is. If you go out to Popeyes and you say, would you like some Popeyes? She'll be like, oh, I'm not hungry. I'll just like have a biscuit. And she will go put her biscuit on a real plate. She is such a funny little creature. We love her. Yeah, she's our antiquated queen. She had a landline after everybody else stopped having a landline. She's just so funny. You know what? I'm so anal about my laundry. I'm so anal about my laundry, so I have to do my own. I've actually hired housekeepers, and I need to call my housekeeper now. But I don't allow anybody else to do my laundry. So I think I've told you all some of my stuff before. I wash my towels and my sheets and my pillowcases in all free and clear exclusively. I wash my gym clothes in Tide Sport with, I also put some Downy crystals in there. It makes it smell really, really good. Cause I be sweating at the gym. Like, I ain't even gonna lie. I ain't even gonna hold you. I go to the gym to work, so I need some strong detergent for my gym clothes. I will hand wash certain things. Scully Bear says I air dry everything so it lasts longer, it doesn't shrink. My mother is so dead ass about air drying her clothes. I'm actually very happy I've moved because she will have every doorway covered and it drives me crazy. At least I confine my stuff to the bathroom like somebody normal. I will air dry what needs to be air dried in the bathroom alone. But my mother will just hang up the clothes indoors and it just drives me mad. But her stuff lasts. You know, she keeps her pajamas forever and a day. She's a real pajama girl. So she'll just hang them all up. It's funny. I care more about my gym clothes than a lot of my regular clothes. I air dry all my gym clothes. Doesn't matter what, because I intend to keep them forever. So I'm very serious about that. But I have Ralph Lauren pajamas I put right in the dryer. I'm like, I don't have time to wait for this. I want it dry and I want it dry right now. Alessandra says, if there isn't a stank, are you even working out? I don't know what other people are doing. I really don't. But they be going to the gym and glistening. Baby, I go to the gym. I straight up look homeless when I leave because I'm covered. I'm drenched. I'm like literally in it to win it when I'm at the gym. Oh, yeah. I definitely wash my towels separate from my regular clothes. And the funny thing is, I don't care how many loads it takes. So the other night I was doing a load. I thought I had more sheets, but I only had one set of sheets. So I had already set it on large. I was like, shoot, I don't want to waste the space. And I had a bunch of dishcloths from these dishes I wash every day of my life. And I just could not force myself to put them in with my sheets. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I do all my kitchen stuff separate from my bathroom stuff. I do the bathroom stuff, but like I would wash my bathroom rugs and my towels separately. I don't mess around. Like, and I know other people are not going to do the laundry like I do the laundry, so I just do my own. It is too personal, absolutely, and I don't want anybody judging me. Like, yeah, my underwear has blood on it. I'm a woman. Leave me alone. Scully Bear said her gym bras are not cheap. Baby, as someone who wears a double D, mine are not cheap either. It's not a game. So, like, good God almighty. I actually have to wear perfume to the gym. Fun fact. So I wear perfume to the gym. I have special perfume I wear just to the gym. But I do not wear makeup to the gym. Ha! Group Parlor says, I sweat like Shaq at the free throw line. Buckets. I love it. Yeah, no. Once your boobs get to a certain size, yeah, the bras, they're not cheap, including the gym bras. So I have to be real careful with my stuff. Yeah, I put my bras in the lingerie bag, and I like the regular ones, and I will wash them on gentle, but of course I air dry them. Our bras are pricey. Try Nordstrom Rack though. They have a very good organization, and their bras are not that expensive, and you can find unusual sizes. So what fits me best is actually the 32 double D. I can wear a 34, but the band is kind of big. So, but you know, 32 double D is very hard to find, and you can always find them at Nordstrom Rack. Also, another place that is good for that, department stores. When Macy's was going out of business, I got so many bras. Well, BC, I wear a variety of perfumes to the gym. So I sometimes wear Ralph by Ralph Lauren. That's a very strong one. Masks pretty much everything. I will wear the We Play. I also have been known to wear this Pisces perfume. It's quite good for that as well. It smells like rose, salt, and leather. So again, it's very good for coverage. But yeah. I don't be messing around down there. I be putting in work. Oh, that's a good one. It's hard to find sports bras that are supportive enough. They're pricey and they're not supportive as they should be. So I'll try that. Alexandra says Nike outlet's great for bras, usually on sale. Okay, I'll try that. I have a really good one I got from a Marshall's years ago. And it's like double banded and it's got cups in it. A sports bra. It's really, really nice. Ooh. And if you're a little between sizes, Felina for regular bras, because they've got this great thing that the bras like sort of go and they get all the side boob and under boob. They've got this great system. And 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. They'll have you right. And you can still wear them even if you go down a little bit in cup size. Oh God, no. I can't believe y'all are watching Diary of a CEO at all. Starve them for attention. Yeah, somebody please invent jump perfume expeditiously. Expeditiously. All right, people, ask your questions and whatnot. Entertain me as I wash these dishes. Whew. Entertain me, child. 2-minute topic says she just realized he's diet Andrew Tate. Well, I could have told you that. But honestly, y'all have to start listening to your feelings more. I never saw that thing. First of all, I don't believe in watching podcasts. Like, I've never watched a podcast. But, oh, that's not true. I watched one podcast that that Christian woman who was telling you why it was a good thing her husband cheated on her. You know, I had to stop watching SVU. I had to stop watching SVU. I stopped during that whole storyline about that girl, you know, the one who got kidnapped, and the whole back and forth about Liv and the guy, and I had to stop. You know, new SVU, I call it. Yeah. I think that was like a season and a half ago. I could not watch anymore. When she came back and started talking about I slept with him and I wanted to, I was over it. I was like, it's clear what direction they're trying to take this BS and I don't have time for it. I have no time for it. I'm really not interested. And then my girl, my little baby, oh my God. We all saw her rescue that poor little girl, you know, back during old SVU. And then to see what happened to her, you know, the cop, the little girl, I'm still mad about that. So I couldn't be bothered. It's very hopeless. It's very, I started feeling like recent SVU, like 21 through whatever season they're on right now, it's been about taking your hope. Criminal Intent is the most superior, most superior Law and Order. Now, to be fair, I was already on my like 20 millionth rewatch when I realized Criminal Intent just isn't a very good show, but it's too late. I love it. Yeah, like one day I was watching it and I was like, somebody said, why is it so dramatic? And I was like, oh my God, it is dramatic, but it was too late. It was too late. I love it so much. Oh my God. I want to put on Criminal Intent after I get to talking to y'all. Like, I didn't pay for Peacock for no reason. Like, I want to watch my show. Criminal Intent is my everything. I'm not going to hold you. It's a lot of things. First of all, I think Vincent D'Onofrio is just And no, I'm not taking any questions, so don't ask me any. And I want to be clear, I mean young Vincent D'Onofrio, not him right now, but like young 2000s era Vincent D'Onofrio, chef's kiss. Don't at me because I don't care. The second thing is his character is very Sherlock Holmes-esque. I was a huge Sherlock Holmes girly when I was a child, so big fan. Vincent is light. Vincent is light. I actually hated it when Chris, aka Mr. Big, became a lead detective in season 5. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there were some good cases. There were some good cases with him, but overall, he was not a good detective. Like, I didn't like him on Law and Order, the original. His character adds nothing, and they can run tell him I said it. His character is literally entitled Irish white man, and it's just very bothersome. Like entitled working class Irish man. It's very bothersome. I do not like it. Yeah, of course I'm going to watch Bridgerton. I'm actually saving it to watch on the treadmill. I'm actually going to go to the gym early. I'm going to get up to the 5 a.m. on tomorrow. I'm going to the 5 a.m. tomorrow because I want to be able to watch Bridgerton when I'm on the treadmill with no spoilers. Yes, that's exactly what I say. I love Bridgerton season 2 and the other 2 seasons suck. One was terrible. Well, no, that's not true. One was good world building, but Daphne is not compelling or attractive. But you ain't heard that from me. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna front for the stunt. Daphne and the Duke actually had pretty good chemistry before they got together. It's funny. Most shows with the will they, won't they plot, I don't like that because I don't like, misunderstandings and stuff. It's funny. I always say we're not living in the Regency era, but they're living in the Regency era, so I'll allow it. And actually, I think they were at their best when they were not together. I think there was a lot of great chemistry with the Duke and Daphne when they were not a couple. But once they became a couple, I was like, keep it. Yeah, season 2 and Queen Charlotte are chef's kiss, 100%. Yeah, and season 2, I was like, I knew the white girls were lying out their ass when I saw season 2. Because, like I said, I had never seen Bridgerton until last year. Yeah, last year, season 3. I had never seen Bridgerton until that point, and I wanted to understand it, so I binged the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is so great. I really love it. But when season 2 came on in real time, because you remember season 1 was pandemic and then season 2 came and the girls were all, oh my God, season 2 is not nearly as good. Season 2 is so terrible, whatever. I didn't go with it, but I didn't not believe it because I had never seen the show. So I was like, I guess people know what they're talking about. But baby, anybody who could say Bridgerton was better season 1 is a liar, and the truth does not reside in their heart, because season 2 was incredible. Sometimes I sit there and I watch my favorite scenes on a loop because that was the best chemistry ever. That man, I don't know if he deserved to be voted people's sexiest, but he should be the best actor. Because, honey, you would have never known that man was gay. You would have thought he was married to her in real life. Like, he did that. He did that thing. I mean, he acted his behind off. And their chemistry was off the charts. I didn't watch Wicked, so I wouldn't know what he was or wasn't. See? Allie didn't even know he was gay. Yes, honey. He has what most of these women nowadays don't have, a husband. I thought that was funny. Yes, the tension and the chemistry, you could absolutely feel it, Brianna. I completely agree. I said, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for in season 1 and didn't get in season 3. That's funny. You know something? we have to stop believing everything people tell us. Because people were telling me Errol Flynn was gay, and I believed it just because he's so handsome. I was like, I really believed that all these years. And then I actually started reading a book about him. I was like, oh my God, he was married to all these women. I was like, oh. So I'll do better in the future. And somebody told me that, and I just went with it. I was like, okay. Yeah, he's so gorgeous, sure. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Night and Day, I Dream of You is definitely iconic. Of course, that affected it. The people were mad because not only was she an Indian lead, she was quite dark skinned. Like they couldn't even try to make her white adjacent. It's like, first of all, it is what do I want to say? Imaginary. It's fictional. That's the first thing. And secondly, I don't think Kate was mean to her sister at all. So it would have been a different thing altogether if Kate's younger sister and Anthony actually had a personal connection. But this was English courtship during the Regency era. Like, and see, this is why I'm here to inform y'all. This is why I'm the doctor. And that doctorate is in literature, so I am competent to say these things. If you look at Austen alone, you see the reflection of the reality of courtship back then, which is that it was so innocent. You're just trying to see if you're a match. And oftentimes, if you didn't marry somebody, they would literally end up marrying your same gender sibling. Like Austen herself has countless books, like Persuasion, where a man proposed to your main character. She said, I'm good on that. And he marries her sister because all you were doing was what they were doing in Bridgerton. You're going to houses, you're going to big parties, you're saying, I have an interest in you. Let's talk about our future. Do you think we align? And it's not like you're kissing them and fucking them like you are nowadays. So if you're just talking, like with courtship, it was like, okay, we weren't a great match. On to the next. You liked me, you might like somebody who was raised just like me and whom even probably looks like me a little bit. My sister, here. Enjoy. So yeah, they were they were just a better match. They had chemistry, but nothing untoward had happened with Miss Lady. What was her sister's name? She was doing so little I even forgot her name. But yeah, she was like, I didn't want this. And she was trying to stay out of the way. It wasn't like she was having an affair with the man. She was running the opposite direction. Well, she was not so intent on not finding anything herself. And again, I think this is where you needed more of the book backing to talk about this. There just wasn't enough money for both of them. And remember, she was sort of half caste. Like she was the child of her father and her mother. She and her sister did not share the same mother. The mother figure was the younger sister's mother alone. Her people had money and backing. She didn't have anything. That's why she was going back to India to be a teacher, basically to be a governess. She's a poor relation. So yeah, like she was trying to stay out of the way. She was really honestly putting herself into harm's way to get her sister a good match and to make sure the family was secured. But yeah, she wasn't looking for anything because she didn't have anything. She didn't have anything to offer. It would have been backstabbing if she had been going behind the sister's back. But like liking someone, having a connection with someone is not backstabbing. Should she have told her earlier? Perhaps. But again, I have to emphasize they were not having an affair. Anything that happened between them happened after the engagement was already broken off. That's very different. That's very different. People are saying like Little Women with Joe, Amy, and Lori. So first of all, that was decades later than this would have been. And not so much because let's recall, Joe and Lori never dated, okay? Lori wanted Joe, but somebody wanting you does not a relationship make. Okay. Did her family think she was going to end up with him? Yes. And then the whole thing is complicated by the fact that Little Women starts out as a true story. Little Women starts out as a pretty much faithful depiction of the childhood of Louisa May Alcott. But the situation gets weird with Lori and Joe because the Lori character is actually based on a woman. Louisa May Alcott was queer. So it starts being weird at whatever point because it doesn't align with what happened in reality. She starts to fictionalize. Exactly. Yes, Alessandra, the grandparents only offered to pay for her sister because that's her only biological grandchild. Yes, this is her half sister, and she's trying to make things okay for her because she knows, because of what her father and her mother went through, what it's like to be poor in the Indian society. So she's like, I want my younger sister to have a better life. I don't want her to have to suffer. Her mother married to disoblige her family, hence, they were poor. And she's like, I don't want anybody else to go through this. Yeah. BC said, my coworker said she went on a date and her date could tell she wasn't interested in him, I guess. So he set her up with a friend and they were married for 40 years. That used to be so common. People would go on a date or two, like Carrie in Sex and the City. You know, she went out with that guy a couple times. She didn't sleep with him. Unusual for her, but she didn't. And she's like, this isn't working. You know who you might be a great match for? My friend Charlotte. They didn't work out because they wanted different China patterns. But remember the Marion guy? He wanted to get married. She said, I know somebody who really wants to get married too, baby. Come on and get some. Kel said, when Harry met Sally. Exactly. This used to be very common before you used to have it off with every person who ever gave you a stick of gum. When people were like dating, courting, it was like, okay, we didn't match, we didn't mesh up, but you might be really great with my friend, my sister, my cousin. I agree, Livia and Rose. I do wish they had better dark skinned women representation on Bridgerton for Black women. Yes, absolutely. Yes, imagine a couple that look like Nicolandria, 100%. I mean, again, I think you would have to look more to the source material, but it is it's the premise of the show. Like the premise of the show is Regency era courtship, and they're doing things differently than we do it now. So yes, while now that would be a cardinal sin and a much bigger deal, listen to what her sister said. When her sister was apologizing and crying and sad on her knees, her sister was like, okay, if you really like the guy, go ahead. I'm like, I liked the idea of him more, but we never really spent time. Disagree. Nope, I love me some Kate and Anthony. Still the best couple on that show. They were the only redeeming factor of season 3, although I wish we had seen more of them. She was the greatest sister. Amazing sister, 10 out of 10. Because of her, her sister got a prince. Girl, you winning. Blooming Peach says, I love Queen Charlotte. I too love Queen Charlotte. I wish we got more of that show. Maybe we will in the future. Yeah, hope that one day we get season 2 of Queen Charlotte. Oh, okay. That's very nice. Baby, when I tell you it's not random, I will sit down. I need somebody to just make me just a cut of just Kate and Anthony season 2. Because people do these cut up like edits. I don't want an edit. I just want start to finish the Kate and Anthony story. That's all I want. Somebody make that. Like, remember back in the day, people would make like the so and so story, and it would just be the parts of the dialogue and stuff between those characters. We used to have a lot of time on our hands in school. What were we doing? Not getting our lesson, that's for sure. Because literally, you can go on YouTube and watch the Sean and Angela story from Boy Meets World. I mean, how cool is that? How cool is that? I do be watching that, honestly. Because who wants to see Corey and Topanga? Not me. So, just to watch the two of them from start to finish, no interruptions, 10 out of 10. Go get you some. The yearning was life. Oh my God, the yearning was life. And then I thought that Anthony's motivation, they chose it so well. It was all great. Yes, justice for Lady Danbury, because what on earth? Justice for Lady Danbury. And I mean, if Violet's old ass can get remarried and have somebody panting after her when she's anyway, why can't Lady Danbury get some loving attention? Although she might. She might. I think we saw some seeds of that last season. She might get somebody. And I hope she does. Because I love, honey, Lady Danbury at 20 and Lady Danbury at like 70 are both gorgeous. 10 out of 10. And I would like to see that. I would like to see an older woman romance that is not centered on a white woman, and run tell people I said it. It did make sense why he would deny himself, you know? Ooh, and now it's time for my favorite thing. Well, actually, I'll wait till I get y'all off of here, but I was about to put lemons down my garbage disposal. 10 out of 10. Make sure you do that. Yes, I love a good yearn. And he was yearning, yes. That sniffing of the air was 10 out of 10. I loved it when he would just follow behind her. Somebody was talking about that I dream of you night and day line. I was like, nah, baby. What I loved was when he said, that scent, lilies. Oh my God. You have to sniff when you say it. You know, that scent, lilies. Oh my God. So good. So good. And then when they finally got together, there was a couple, and the way they related to each other, just, yeah. I have a big soft spot for them as a couple. Big soft spot for them. Did I see D'Onofrio and Cell? Can't say that I did, no. Somebody said injected. Yes, that man right there. He's a good man, Savannah. Good man. Yeah. I was so happy they finally got together. I feel, but you know what? Here's the thing. I got a little bit mad at them straying from the source material because I feel like that could have been a good way to get the couple together. But the thing is, you could not have Kate and Anthony on the Bridgerton show get married and be like the Duke and Daphne. You could not have them be in a marriage and be unaware, oh, we're both so in love. Baby, their chemistry was combustible. Oh my God, like it would have been curtains drawn. It would have been literally game over. If they had gotten married even as a concession to decency, like the Daphne and Duke did, baby, their bed would have been broken same night, same hour. Like they would have been in the carriage getting it on. So I can see why, to stall the progress of the relationship, you had to have them keep running into all these obstacles. Because if they had ever gotten married, it would have been like, Oh, so I just said, even her sister was like, how did I miss this? Because she was so in her head. Yeah, she was like, oh my God, I want blah, 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 blah. I want to live happily ever after. She was just skipping and hopping and and dipping. Speaking of ice skating, did you see Scandal on Ice? Did you see the black woman and the white man skating to the little Scandal monologue? That was so adorable. That was so, I think I reposted it. That was so cute. And they were really good skaters too. Now, you know what? The two black young ice skaters need to hire them as a lift coach because their lifts were fantastic. Like, go do what these people did. Oh yeah, that was really good. I like that. You know, I haven't even seen Heat of Rivalry. I don't like hockey. I wouldn't have never seen it in my life. Whew, kind of peckish now. What do we have to eat? Oh, here's my yogurt. I never did eat that. Let me do that right now. See, it should be like that. It should be like not like ice cold. Just a little something. Out of raspberries though. Well, that's what people in the comments are calling. Oh, even Kerry Washington commented on the Scandal on Ice couple. That was so cute. I tell you what though. Best queer yearning I've ever seen. Ray on Damages. Oh my God. Ray and that guy whose name I don't remember. Baby. I was watching, I was like, oh my God. I want somebody to feel like that about me. Like, oh, the yearning, it was palpable. You could like cut the tension with a knife. I was like, yes, that's what I'm looking for. Back when I was young, you know. Oh gosh, Jeff Perry. My man. He's awesome. That helped like a little bit. I swear it's the lack of sunlight. Feels like the day's about to be over. No, I did not watch Heat of Rivalry. Fun fact, Jeff Perry, also known as Cyrus, is in one of my favorite episodes of Cold Case. What's crazy is I think that man has been on every show I've ever loved. He guested on Frasier. He guested on Cold Case. Has he been in Law and Order? Probably, if I look. He always somewhere being a damn villain. He ain't never in his life played a good guy. What's up with that? Oh, child. I have to just believe you on that, Levian Rose, because we were a Young and the Restless household. We were CBS soap operas only. So I grew up watching The Young and the Restless, The Bold and the Beautiful, Guiding Light, and As the World Turns. We didn't do the rest of that. Because holiness is still right over here. Of course he was inventing Anna. Of course he was. You know what? I broke my rule just for that. It wasn't worth it. I broke my rules to watch Beyond the Gates. It wasn't even worth it. Yeah. I was watching with my godmother. I said, this will be nice to have a regular soap opera to follow again. And I love a nighttime soap. I do. I love a nighttime soap from infinity to infinity. Trash. I said, in the year of our Lord 2025, this is what we're coming with? Forget it. That's not true. It's not trashy. I'll give it that much. It's not trashy. It's not Tyler Perry-esque, which is all I can say in this defense. But there are so many soap opera legends. You think they'd be able to do a little bit better. Because good God Almighty, I took one look at Victoria Roll. I was like, girl, where's the belt? Because you ought to be made to sit down and watch this after your good training on all the CBS soaps. For you to clown like this, I expected more from you, Drusilla. Yikes. Alessandra, I wasn't aware. Honey, Tom Hanks, Russell Simmons. Because that's the thing. Honestly, it's so much, Lord. It's so much. It is so much. Yeah, I knew it was the foolishness when he and Rita moved out the country. But I get so upset because I'll be sitting minding my own business, I'll be thinking about nothing. And somebody will bring up Russell Simmons' names and I just get so mad. Because it just reminds me of how much black men never get held accountable. Like, literally, I was talking to somebody the other day about something unrelated. I think we were talking about, like, black real estate or something. And then they start talking about this one and that one, and they start bringing up Russell Simmons. I was like, no more talking. The conversation's over now. Because, like, if you bring up a black woman who's even mildly controversial, in another sense, you could literally be talking about literature. And you could say Alice Walker. Honey, niggas want to say everything in the world about Color Purple, but they will have credible allegations or charges of child abuse. And you say something, oh, well, business, he's a good businessman. Nigga, what are you talking about? And that just drives me crazy. I hate that. What it really is they don't see your life as worthy. Like, they'll bring up anytime a black woman has rightfully called a black man out, but they will have actual crimes on their name about black women and children, and niggas, oh, well, see, I'm just talking about business. Like, no, thank you. And you don't feel like, whatever, having to educate people all the time or having to argue about the basics. Like, so it was time for Kwanzaa again last year, right after Christmas, as per usual. Obviously, we had the usual spate of videos saying about how you shouldn't celebrate it because of the founder of Kwanzaa kidnapped and assaulted two black women and did, like, horrible, horrible things to them. He's a monster. And then, this is the first time I'd ever seen this. Niggas actually had the audacity to get on Anita Baker's internet talking about oh, well, see, all holidays have violence attached. And see, if you're not going to celebrate that, then you shouldn't celebrate Christmas. Because, nigga, shut the fuck up. Like, I wish on, like, a star that you would have a woman who was accused of assaulting and kidnapping black men, and then you still stand up there and say, oh, she's such a great person because of these areas of her life. They would never allow that to stand. His music wasn't even some of that, let alone all of that. So Bahoot Geek said, same with R. Kelly. His music was never all that anyway. Here's what I always say. No amount of talent can ever excuse harming children. But if there were such a quotient, he wouldn't even be aligned for it. Like, I could piece the way see the argument for Michael Jackson, who is also still canceled, but I'm so confused when people bring up R. Kelly and talent in the same sense. I'm like, babe, you could literally go to your church choir and find a whole bunch of people, not just a couple, a whole bunch who sing better than R. Kelly. And like, they don't even realize how contradictory their arguments are, because they'd be like, oh my God, he's such a songwriting legend. The nigga who claimed he's illiterate, him, the one who claimed you should not investigate him, there should be no more charges filed against him because he cannot read. Girl, you ain't never lied. Boho Geek said D'Angelo deserved the amount of musical success that R. Kelly did not. Yes, D'Angelo absolutely did. He's a tremendous musician, a great loss to us all. R.I.P. for D'Angelo. Like, I don't even, and what's crazy to me is, what did R. Kelly even do? Like, he produced a lot of songs for sure. Like, I mean, like, other people's songs. Yes, he wrote, he produced, what, a lot of other people's songs. Those would be a loss. But his music with his name on it that he sang, what do you need with that? Like, literally. You cannot live if you don't have Bump and Grind and Remix to Ignition. Like, that's literally it. That, and if you want a two-step, Step in the Name of Love. That's it. You can't live without those? Yikes. Very sad for you. Stop it. No. No. Lavanda Rose? She just has closet ellipsis. Closet. Please stop. Oh, my savior. That's literally crazy. Like, it got to the point where I had to stop allowing myself to get angry. I would get like visibly angry when I was at a party or something and people would put on his music, because I was like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to allow him to stress me out of a good time. So I'll just walk away or whatever. If it's my event, I will not allow it to be played. But yeah, I was we were having my mom's birthday party this summer, and we're just chilling and having fun. Like, we weren't actually dancing because we were about to have dinner. And next thing I know, they have put on Step in the Name of Love. I was so pissed. I went immediately and changed that. Oh, Chris Brown's another one. But at least Chris Brown, when you're at a party for a certain set of people, it's never going to get brought up. Like, my mother is 60. There's no song you would play for a 60-year-old woman that has Chris Brown on it. Or did he either? Like, I can't think of any singular song that would get played that has Diddy in it anywhere that you would play at a 60-year-old party. Like, it would just not happen. But R. Kelly, it's like there are so many songs like people want to quote dance to or whatever that crop up, and I'm like, ugh, I hate having to be on guard for that stuff. Diddy has no good songs. If there's a good song, it's a feature. And like, I don't know what it is. Maybe because his voice is not all that distinct, it doesn't bother me. If I hear like More Money, More Problems, I'm not going to say cut it off, If I even hear Last Night, so I just saw Brandy and Monica, and Keisha Cole guested, and obviously she sang Last Night because, I mean, what does she have? She actually has his voice blurred out, which I think is in very good taste. But if she had played the song regular, I wouldn't have cared. He's so insignificant when it comes to music. But like Chris Brown or R. Kelly, if I even hear their voices, I get so triggered. Guys, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it right here in the presence of all these witnesses, and I'm going to lead a live up so they can have what they need. Michael Jackson was not innocent. You can think that he was a victim himself, which is true. You can think a lot of things, but that man was not innocent. Take away the fame. take away the fame. Like I said, he himself in that ABC interview confessed to sleeping in the bed with children and giving them wine. This is predator behavior. And like I said, this is what he said out of his mouth. Nobody made him, nobody put anything to his head. And I've read all the transcripts of his cases, like his court cases, especially if you look at the early 90s cases, he was guilty. Yes, exactly. Two things can be true at once. He was a victim and a pedo. And I'm genuinely sorry for what he went through in his childhood. He was also genuinely very talented, probably the greatest entertainer the world's ever seen. But that does not excuse the fact that he was a pedo. Is what it is. I'll say this. So he died, what, it was like, I want to say 2010, maybe 2009. I was quite young. I was still in college. And I did not even, it sounds silly to say, but it's for the best that it was then, because it would have been so impossible to have a real conversation about what it looked like to cancel him. Like, so, when he died, most music stations played his music night and day. It was then I realized how many songs I grew up listening to were either covers of his work or somehow inspired. The Boy Is Mine, he did The Girl Is Mine with Paul from the Beatles. Um, Hey Lover is samples The Lady of My Life, stuff like that. And it's just like, it would be so much. So much to really begin untangling how to. I'm making movements with my arms. Just put aside him and everybody else, everybody who was complicit, everybody who he worked with, all the stuff that came out of there. Like, it would have been so much. So. D says, agree, Jacko was wacko. Not sure why we pedestalized him. All that search to unblack himself. And that's the other thing. You can say the most obvious thing about Michael Jackson. For example, I have frequently referenced him when I talk about the demographics being self-hating. Every single time there's a huge argument in my comments, and we all know what the comments say. Oh, don't include Michael. He had vitiligo. Did his hair have vitiligo too? His nose also had vitiligo. I was not aware chin implants and rhinoplasty were treatments for vitiligo. Tell me more. His children also have vitiligo? That's crazy. I didn't know vitiligo could genetically alter your material so that you, a fully black man, could have children that were fully white. Vitiligo it must be aggressive. Wow. That is one crazy disease. Exactly, Blooming Peach. And the thing is, you know what? And I'm not even scared of anybody, so I'm going to say what I want to say. A lot of black people, especially black men, take the same line with colorism that white people take with racism. That is, white people claim that you can only be racist if you're running around screaming the N-word or whatever applicable slurs, if you're being a big meanie, but they do not acknowledge microaggressions and paternalism and whatnot. They don't acknowledge that as racism. Black people are the same doggone way. Unless a man is Kodak Black and he's screaming to the skies how ugly dark-skinned women or whatever are to him, they refuse to call him a colorist. And because Michael Jackson would do things that seemed affirming, he would hire dark-skinned women for his videos, like Iman, and Remember the Time. He would make black music videos, like Remember the Time. He would do things that seemed very affirming. Black people would be so deep in denial about what was in front of their face. That man straightened his hair within an inch of its life. He bleached all the pigment out his skin. He got I can't count the number of nose jobs, that chin implant, those fully white kids he clearly adopted. Like, it's time to call a spade a spade. The man was a self-hater, but because he was not a vocal self-hater, because he wasn't like one of the aggressive, like nasty ones, they let him have a pass. And maybe because he was an artist, I don't know. Somebody who's more versed on Michael Jackson would have to give their thoughts on that. But maybe because he was an artist, he was not as visibly colorist in his work as so many other black men celebrities. So I think that's why people were confused or pretended to be confused. Like, you would see it. There was plenty of lovely dark-skinned women representation in his work. I mean, look at You Rock My World, even up to the end. There were some lovely looking dark-skinned girls in his work. But baby. And also, truth be told, I think, if I give my real opinion, I think a lot of black women, they knew they didn't want to be mixed up with whatever. Like, I think they knew, okay, this guy's an unsavory character. They knew what he was probably like or what he was going to do to children. So they didn't want to be mixed up with him interpersonally. They said, hey, we got the representation. We got what we came for. We're still getting repped. We're still getting recognition in the music, and that's good enough. But we don't want to have to deal with him, like, interpersonally. Those are my thoughts. Honey married two whole white women. And again, because I think they did not want to be dealing with him, I don't think black women felt a personal affront when he went with all those white women. When he was marrying and dating them and whatnot, they didn't give a doggone. Because I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure. You've heard black women say a lot of things about Michael. You've heard them say how great Thriller was and he was a great dancer. You ain't never heard a black woman say that 90s and later Michael Jackson was fine. You never heard them say that. Never. You've never done it. Like, literally, they can bring up Remembrance of Time era Michael Jackson and they'll be like, wow, that was a great video and he danced so well. You ain't heard them say, I really just wanted to be with him. And no. Yeah, we all liked pre-white Michael Jackson. We all liked Black Michael. But nobody who was black. Like, white women said it all the time. And I was like, what do you see? Because, like, when I was a girl, I'm not even playing. Y'all know I'm not playing because I'm laughing hard. But, like, when I was a girl, I was actually quite afraid of him. Like, I mean, you were kind of used to Michael because you knew what you were getting. But, like, when I was a child and his stuff would come on, I was actually afraid. Yeah, it wasn't until I got a little older and I started watching the BET, the top 20 countdown that they would have with all the celebrities where you had to tell them your favorite videos and stuff. Remember that show? I used to love that thing. I used to watch it every Saturday. But it wasn't until I got older and started watching that and I actually saw, like, you know, the videos for his earlier work and I saw what he looked like when he was a young guy. I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, I grew up watching the Jackson 5 movie like everybody else, but I had never seen the videos for Thriller or Billie Jean or any of that stuff until I was like 13, 14 years old. That's funny. AV said she used to hide when Thriller came on. Yeah, and yeah, when he was black and he had that wide nose, I was all for it. Somebody said even in Thriller he had that odd nose job. Child, I couldn't tell you. He was very handsome before the surgery, but that's what self-hatred will do to you. He was quite handsome when he was a young man, but Scary, scary, scary. You know the only person who that turned out okay for? Janet. She kept just the right amount. Because his brothers are some scary canaries, and his other sisters too. But Janet, she has maintained most of her structural integrity. She's still very pretty. Yes, I agree with that. Uh, T says he was scary looking. We were just trained to accept him. Oh no, that's going so far, but maybe. She said, I think they switched up the narrative regarding the real reason people passed out. People were probably afraid, not mesmerized. I don't know if I agree with, because you have to remember they were passing out when he was still black. Like they were chasing him from the NBA games when he was still a Negro. Yeah, that was, you know, 80s era, like early 80s. Like, yeah, no, they were passing out then too. But that being said, remember when they aired that special? Well, was it the 25th anniversary of Thriller? Maybe the 15th? I don't know. But that big special, it was on one of the network TV shows. And you know the one I'm talking about. He pulls out the suitcase and the glove and everything. I will contend for the rest of my life. His nose fell off. His nose fell off. You could see it on the ground. Yeah, 2001. Yeah, you could. It was right there. It was right there. I saw it live. It was on the floor. He picked it up, but it was on the ground. Y'all know it was there. Yeah, Jermaine does look crazy. Jermaine was cute when he was young. Y'all seen his solo album? Alessandra, remember, she said, I thought we always knew it did. It did. I saw it for myself. Truly a terrifying moment in my childhood. That man, he always frightened me, but it took it to a new level that day. CCS. Oh my God. No, who wants to know my scariest Michael Jackson moment? It was the first time I saw the You Are Not Alone video. I've truly never been so terrified in my life. So I didn't see the music video when it first came out. When I was a girl, we didn't watch music videos. But that's a whole nother story. I saw that. I was like 11, 12, something like that. And, you know, I'd heard the song a million and one times. I was like, why is there a video for this? And remember that was like the thing to do back in the day. Have a music video with the orchestra or whatever playing. You remember? Like Tony Braxton, Unbreak My Heart. That was like a really hot thing to do. So I'm thinking this is going to be like regular, degular. Baby, when that man took his shirt off, I just started to scream. I was so frightened. It had never occurred to me what he looked like under there. Like, you know, you think of Michael Jackson, you think of his crazy clothes. You think of him in them, you know, Captain Crunch suits and stuff. You think of like those crazy shoes and his gloves. You think of his clothes. His clothes are just as much a part of him as his face. So when he started stripping, I've truly never been so afraid. And then the body underneath was just frightening. What's up, King Peanut? Oh my God, I've never seen that. There was one where he had Lisa Marie Presley and they were nude. His Audi Betty butt was not cute. Do not say that. That is disgusting. First of all, Audis in general disgust me, but that pale thing. Oh my. Oh, I could just vomit. I need. I'm gonna go get some cashews to settle my stomach. This is very stressful. Y'all stay here. I can't. I know better than to eat unmeasured cashews, so I'm gonna make sure I count these out. Audis are gross. Spiritual warfare for sure. For sure. D Shine apparently finds my suffering hilarious. Yeah. I always knew. Women who were like, oh my God, he's so fine, were just lying. Like 90s era. Nobody was saying that about Michael and being sincere. They were just talking to talk. What a time to be alive, let me tell you. People were just doing anything. They were really the end days, honestly. Maybe. But I remember I was a child. I was a child both times he was arrested. When he was arrested the first time, I was a baby. But I was a child back in the early 2000s. And when he got arrested, first of all, I said many things. Number one was that I knew he was guilty. I knew instantly he was guilty. And secondly, I was like, why is this still going on? I remember, oh my God, I remember in ninth grade, we took journalism, or at least I took journalism. I was 14 years old, and his second trial had just ended. And because my class was mostly black, that class, and all the kids were like, oh my God, it's a conspiracy, it's the evil white man or whatever. My journalism teacher was a white man called Mr. Stallings. And you know what? He looked just like that man. Oh God. He looked like that man in Mariah Carey's We Belong Together video, the one who gets left at the altar. He looked like him, and he talked like Jameson from Spider-Man. He was like a big stereotype of a New York newspaper man. That was my journalism teacher, Mr. Stallings. Shout out to you if you're still out there. Probably not though, because I'm 36, so doubtful. But he would say you should not believe anything based on like rumors and innuendo, because we're black. We love a conspiracy, baby. And he would go and make us look up documents. That's how I ended up reading the court transcripts of the first case. He said, I've believed for a long time that Michael Jackson did everything they said he did, but I'm not here to influence anybody. He said, go and do some research and tell me what you think, not what you heard in your neighborhood, like what you think. And so we were researching and whatnot, and I was like, yeah, this man guilty. He guilty, 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 guilty. Eric Roberts. That man looked just like Eric Roberts, only older and maybe a bit less tan. But for years, I would see Eric Roberts and be like, oh, I know him. I have a little buddy. He was a good teacher. What's up, Janet? You know what? Y'all shouldn't say that. Because it hasn't been hard for you to form an opinion on Michael Jackson. You just don't like the conclusion you're drawing. And I don't know why y'all care. The man's been dead for, it's going to be 25 years. Literally. Even, not 25, 15? 15. But still, he been dead a good long time. No, it's not hard to form an opinion. Y'all just don't like the conclusion that you came to, but he's clearly guilty. Exactly. Cognitive dissonance. CC Esther, here's the thing. What I think about his biopic coming up this year, exactly what I said last year when they did the Elvis movie. If you're not going to tell it all, don't bother. Because people were mad. People on both sides were mad last year with the movie. They were like, oh, and they should have done this, and they did too much of that, and why didn't they do this? Listen, there's no jiggling around the ages. He married a teenage girl, almost a pre-teenage girl. Okay, like there's no getting around it. There's no getting by it. It's what he did. The end, point blank, period. He was then abusive to that child. It is what it is. And he's another one that always confuses me. I promise you, if they were lining people up to forgive them in order of talent, he would be at the back of the line. Elvis's music is mediocre at best, and he couldn't dance. And you can run tell people I said it. Because, girl, what? Ooh, what in God's name was that? The man looked like he was having. Let me not, because then people gonna be upset. I'ma stop. So yeah, if they're gonna tell MJ, and like, I'm not anti. Truly, if they want to have a biopic, by all means, genuinely, I think everybody who has captivated the world deserves to have their story told. But that being said, if you're gonna tell it, you have to tell it all. And they've never done one of these movies about MJ where they told the real truth. So I don't know why they're bothering to do another one. Like, how many movies have there been at this point? They've been making movies about that man since I was a girl, and he was still alive. Boho, you're mean. I like you. If they and that's the thing about me, honestly, and if we were to leave out his life, if you were to say, let's have a movie about Michael Jackson the entertainer, it's a waste of time. Why? Because they can't find anybody who's going to sing like him, and they're not going to find anybody who's going to dance like him. So if they're going to have, them playing the tracks, why have a movie? That's what I say. That's what I say. I truly actually don't even think they should have made the Aretha Franklin movie. And not because she didn't deserve a movie, but because no one's going to be able to do her. I think J Hud has a beautiful voice. Like Aretha, she's got an organ in her chest, but she and Aretha don't really sound alike. So yeah, the only, honestly, only two biopics ever came out really great that I care about, and that was Angela with What's Love Got to Do with It, and Jamie Foxx with Ray. But with both of those, first of all, you have the person there. Tina was involved in What's Love Got to Do with It, and Ray literally sat with Jamie Foxx and encouraged and showed him how to do it. So Michael Jackson's dead. As far as I know, he's not going to be coming back to give the person who's playing him a tutorial. And it's just gonna make it not what it should be. I went and I saw the Temptations musical. That was so good. That was so good until you got to David Ruffin. Now this was an actual musical. Nobody sounds like David Ruffin. Nobody in this earth can sing like the actual David Ruffin. So of course it wasn't good enough. My standards are high. What they should have done was play a record because David Ruffin is the only David Ruffin out there. But no, they didn't do that. So it wasn't what it should have been to me. This is just me talking, not the Holy Ghost. But I was a huge fan. And the guy was doing his very best. And he had to dance too, and it was live. It was a lot. But it's not David. Well, I wouldn't know. I didn't see Rocket Man. I wouldn't have cared. I'm not an Elton John person. And listen, I'm all for him. Genuinely. I'm all for Michael and his nephew and Jermaine too. But and one thing about me, I am no hater. I'm a doubter. So if you show me, I'll be first in line to say I was wrong. Yeah, Heath Ledger. When I saw the commercials, like the trailers for The Dark Knight, I was not impressed. I'm a huge Batman geek, and I was like, "This looks a mess." And I saw it, and it's still the very best Batman movie ever, except for the animated ones. But I gave credit where credit was due. I was like, "Yeah, he did a tremendous job. There'll never be a better Joker. Good for him. Good for him." But yeah, the trailer, I was like, not impressed. So yeah, if Jermaine's nephew, son, whatever, does a good job, I'll be first in line to say he did a great job. Well, I don't like Christopher Nolan in general, but the first two Batman movies were good. Batman Begins and The Dark Knight were very good. But of course, his right wing insanity made The Dark Knight Rises terrible. It doesn't make any sense. Literally, when MJ's daughter said she identifies as a black woman, I just started laughing. I was like, we don't have any room over here. Leave us alone. Oh, I think Craig is my favorite Bond. Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond. And yeah, he had to show me. I was waiting. But he did a tremendous job. I have to say, I've always been given to a more serious Bond. But he revolutionized the series for me. I don't think they'll ever have a better one. But I'm open. I'm open. I'm ready. Now Pierce, who I grew up with, is actually a terrible Bond. He's a terrible Bond. He's a real cutie though. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan. I don't know who said this is the man for this role right here. This the one. Girl, what? That was the most terrible Batman in the world with Robert Pattinson. Zoe did a good job, but Robert, oh my god, that was awful. He needs to repent and seek God's face. That movie was so bad. And then it was a reminder because he likes to pretend that he got tricked into doing Twilight, like like he was young and they kind of forced him or whatever. But this is a reminder that he really can't act. It was bad. It was like objectively just horrible. Nothing really happens. It's too slow. There are a bunch of red herrings. Like, just objectively, it's a bad movie. I'm not a Twilight girl. Those movies are awful. Now, I'll give y'all all the credit in the world for one thing. That Breaking Dawn or whatever, I saw the trailer. And when he said, there's no measure of time with you that would ever be enough, so let's start with forever, that low key kind of ate. That low key kind of ate, not gonna front. See, no. That's what Robert has been telling y'all all these years. That he can really act and the director made him do whatever in Twilight. It's a lie from the pit of hell. Because I've always said this. Batman is the test of whether or not you can actually act. And the men who fail, they couldn't act. Ben Affleck, great example, can't act. Do you see it? Do you see Batman versus Superman? It was trash, huh? Because he can't act. Batman is not Superman. You cannot pass on good looks, okay? You don't get to like stand and do a Superman pose and like look at the sky and it's all good. No, Batman requires acting, good acting. But a lot of men can't pull it off. And it's really not about your build. You don't have to be built super great, super big. I've never loved Michael Keaton as Batman, but he's not a bad Batman. Because it's not about your physique. It literally is about whether or not you can act. Christian Bale is a phenomenal actor. And when he was young, he How about now? Hello, can you hear? Oh, for God's sake. Okay. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. So, Batman requires a lot of subtext. There's so much to dig into and figure out how you're going to play the character. And very few actors have ever pulled it off properly. Yeah, a lot of people confuse Batman and Superman. Batman should be a handsome man, but Batman being handsome is not the center of his character. It's about the moral conflict. Christian Bale was a great Batman. Christian Bale was a fantastic Batman. Although I've always thought he was miscast in Batman Begins. He's too damn old to be playing, Bruce Wayne as a young man. He's way too old for that. They should have had a proper going through. They should have had another guy to play him as an adolescent and an early 20s guy because, yeah, it looked fucking ridiculous. Exactly. Superman is just body, yaddy, yaddy, and smile. That's it. Val Kilmer, he was okay. Did I like Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker? When was he the Joker? Don't stop falling into it. Group parlor. What I think about people talking about the Diana Rossification, I wouldn't even repeat that. I would. Oh, oh, my phone overheated, so I'm gonna have to shut off for now. But I'll holler at you guys later. One love. Peace out.